Don't you want people not to see me, Danny?
No, I don't mind at all, actually. But
all right, we're going live. See if this works. Yeah, we got some people. We got some of our Reddit people here.
hey,
We got
Alpha Wolfgang for sure.
Alpha Wolfgang is here.
Yes.
Let's Chill Dude is here.
Oh, hey.
Yes.
We're so excited. I am so excited for this. Let's Chill Dude. He just said he was gonna get drunk and watch this podcast. So
Wow, did he
Well,
turn it
enjoy.
into a drinking game? Every time we say a certain
yeah,
thing,
we should.
like,
We need to do a
idea.
drinking game bingo or something like
we'll
that.
let him come up with the rules for it.
Yes, I love it.
And we'll join him during a live stream at some point.
yes. Yes. Alpha Wolfgang, we're live.
Yeah,
And let's Chill Dude. Welcome, guys. We're happy you're here. We're gonna just start, so you guys can kind of like chat. I'll monitor the chat, so you guys can talk, and I will add it and incorporate any of your questions as we go. Jen is gonna, I guess, be turned around and streaming and recording.
Nice.
Hopefully, eventually, she'll turn back around. All right, we are just gonna jump into this. It's gonna be fun. I'm really excited for this. Let me finalize everything. Okay. We have a lot to talk about because these are very dense chapters. But someone in our Reddit, on our subreddit, mentioned something that I want to talk about to start the podcast. So, what is your guys... Jen, you're killing me here.
This is not going to work,
Jen.
Jen.
Okay, what is your guys' impression of the characters? Do you have the movie characters in your head when you read the books? Or is it opposite? Do you have the book characters? Do you have like people who you're imagining in your head as who you thought of originally? Or are you thinking of Daniel Radcliffe and all these other people when you're...
Well, I screwed myself because I watched the movies first.
Yeah.
So that's just in my head.
Yep. I think for me, Ron and Harry and Hermione are the movie versions. A lot of the other people aren't, though. Snape is kind of a mixture. Dumbledore is like maybe from the first movie, a little bit more whimsical, so I don't picture him the same. Mr. and Mrs. Weasley are just characters in my head, not from the movies. I don't really remember what Mrs. Weasley even looks like in the movies.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a few of the characters are from the movies and a few aren't.
You know what's funny, though? When I read, I just realized I don't visualize the people.
Interesting.
Their character forms... I guess I don't have like an actual visual of people
like
in
an
my head, but
idea.
it's their character and who they are. Anytime I read, because I started thinking about that, I was like, I don't think unless I watch a movie,
Yep.
I don't really have a picture of somebody
Really?
in my head. Yeah.
When you're reading a book, you don't have the image of someone in your head that you're
No.
reading of?
No,
Wow.
it's like more like a feeling, like who they are. Is that weird?
No, I think that's awesome.
Okay.
I feel like someone who's smarter than me would be able to identify something about you because of that.
Shaking my head. That is not a fact.
That's pretty cool.
Because someone,
deep.
one of our, Dina, one of our great subredditors, said this, and I just want to read this whole thing because this is really interesting. She says, I know this might seem sacrilegious, but I'm 25 years old and it was a post from 2 years ago that she reposted here. I'm 25 years old and just started the books for the first time. I've been a fan of the movie since I was a kid, but just got around to reading the books. Within a week's time, I've already found myself halfway through Prisoner and a bigger fan than ever. I mean, watching YouTube videos and researching fan theories, I even got Sorted for the first time. Don't get me wrong, I'm loving every second of it, but I'm having a hard time disassociating what I'm reading from what I grew up watching. I was hoping for these characters to form in my mind the way they do for books I read with no film adaptations, but that's just not happening. And it becomes hardest when characters come about that isn't in the films, but is in the books. I'm like picturing nothing because I have nothing in that world to relate to, or I'm even picturing incorrect characters to compensate. And I mean, she says, guys, I'm seeing Phil Mundungus Fletcher as Peeves, and it's really alarming. And we kind of run into Mundungus Fletcher. Do you know, where do you run into Mundungus Fletcher in these stretch of chapters? He's mentioned once, and it's a really funny little thing.
He is mentioned, and it's towards the end.
Yeah.
And it's something silly. Shoot, what was that? I can't remember. Did he do something dumb?
He was trying to get a massive tent, and
Oh,
Arthur says he
yeah,
knows for
he
a
had
fact that
just
he
the
slept
tarp.
under his cloak with his stick.
Oh,
With his
man.
jacuzzi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just was thinking, what a name.
Yeah.
Mundungus.
Oh, that
Yeah.
didn't even
Like, wow.
register.
I know.
That is quite a name.
But that was one of the things that I experienced reading these books. When I initially read them, I was weird because I didn't initially have the characters in my head, but I had the movie characters very quickly go into my head because I started watching the movies directly after all the books. But then when I picked up the illustrated version, it kind of reset everything for me. And whenever I think of the characters, I think of them in the illustrated version rather than the movies, which I love because I think that's a better
That is
depiction.
very
yeah,
than the
well, if I
movies.
looked at them, that I could have in my mind.
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm like a visual. Like I need to see. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait, Jen, what about you?
I think I do like a combo thing. I see mostly the actors, but then new characters I kind of visualize. And then as I read certain scenes, I kind of picture the actors a little bit different, like with my own adaptation to it.
The actors with a twist.
But all these new characters in this book. But then I had the cover of this, and I'm like, is it one of these guys on the cover?
Oh, I don't even know what's on the
that we're
cover.
talking about.
I thought it was just Harry's face.
No, you don't want to see it.
True. Aha. Yeah, it is fun reading a character that I don't know what they look like. No, don't you say it.
Jen with the covers, you're killing us.
I love this because I like to guess. What's wrong with that? That's why they're on the cover.
In a sense, you're right. And that's why the back of the book is pretty good.
Yeah, me too.
Same thing.
All right,
Spoilers.
cool.
I have to look away whenever Jen lifts up that book.
I know.
Well, you just asked me what it looked like.
Yeah, but I want like almost like a hint, but not really. I don't actually want to know.
Okay.
So I guess I'm just not going to find
So
out
you'll be in the
until
dark.
later.
And I will be the detective and guessing all my theories, and I'll be closer than you.
You have more clues. I don't need all those clues.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh man.
Let
the battle begin.
McGonagall is not Harry's
Hey, it
grandmother.
could be. We don't know. Oh man. Also, I feel like in these chapters, my opinion on some characters changed. I found myself liking Mr. Weasley less.
Really?
Towards the end, it came back, but there were some moments in, I don't know if it was 6, 7, 8, whatever it was, where he just came off like clueless a little bit and too childish. Like the kids felt smarter than him in some weird way. I forget what it was exactly.
Was it like building the tent?
Yeah, like little things like that. Like, oh, with the matches. Yeah, with the tent.
Yeah.
So things like that where I was like, oh, man, like it felt like he was just a kid, you know, like easily distracted. And that's part of what I love about him. But it felt like he took it too far. Where then I was like, oh, is he like respectable? I don't actually know. But I've built him into more in my head than we've actually seen in the books. So then we started to get some of it. And I was like, I want to see him be a little better. So far, I'm just like, It was not a strong start for Mr. Weasley. No, that sounds too
poor
harsh.
Mr.
That sounds too
Weasley.
harsh. But when we get to it in these chapters, then we'll talk about it a little bit. I'll point out
Yeah.
a few things.
I think this is where the kids get this too. Like I think the reason why I love Fred and George is because they're just so playful and fun.
Yeah.
And the same thing, I think they get it from Arthur more than Molly. I think Molly's maybe playful too. But I love it because he does have that kidness still to him. He still has that wonder and excitement that fades a lot when you get older.
Yeah.
With matches and everything like that. Now, there's no way he should be the department head. Like, he doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. He doesn't know what a rubber duck is according to the movies. He doesn't know anything. But I love the child wonder that he has for Muggle artifacts. For some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. Very quickly before we start, too. What is your guys' thoughts on the Dark Mark? I just want real quick fan theories for you guys for who you think conjured the Dark Mark.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth.
Yeah, me too.
Sometimes I feel like it's Crouch. Sometimes I feel like it's Wormtail somehow conjuring not Conjuring, like, because I felt while I was listening to it, Winky, the house elf, I literally was cringing listening to that whole chapter because it was so sad, and I really think she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So I'm wondering if somehow Wormtail was playing, like, let me steal Harry Potter's wand and then somehow get Crouch. Like, I feel like they're just trying to mess everything up. So either at first I thought Crouch was it, and then I thought, no, they just want to make it look like that, so it has to be someone else, maybe Wormtail, getting Harry Potter's wand and then doing some kind of spell onto Winky and getting them pulled together and somehow creating this.
Do you like Winky?
I do like her. I feel bad for her.
Yeah.
She is brainwashed.
Yeah.
Oof.
And
Who-
I know.
Who do you think conjured it, Danny?
Ludo Bagman. I'm not. Part of it doesn't really make sense, his timeline, because they ran into him in that clearing. He was there.
Yep.
And so he apparates away. They hear a pop. I don't know how loud that pop is, because could he have said, oh no, they caught me? He apparates away and then comes back like a few seconds later, conjures it and leaves. Maybe. It's definitely possible. And then he could have taken Harry's wand anytime then, could have taken it up in the stands, because the fact that Mr. Weasley could show up with all those kids up in the best seats in the whole place, they took up half of the best box in the whole place. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, who
Something
gave him the
nefarious
tickets?
is going on.
Bagman
Yeah.
gave the tickets. So that could
And
be,
so I think he's up to no good. And then he just seems suspicious. And then at the end, when Winky is, they're all standing around her and they're like grilling her about this. They're asking her questions. And they ask her, like, I forget how they worded it, but the question. Like, they said something like, sum it up. Like, who did this? Did you see anything? And it said she looked at Cedric's dad, Mr. Diggory, looked at Ludo Bagman, looked at Mr. Crouch. Or maybe the third person wasn't Mr. Crouch. It could have been
I think it was
Mr. Weasley. But I think so. And the fact that she looked at Ludo, even though he wasn't talking and wasn't super involved, I think she was like checking on him and he threatened her at some point.
I do sometimes feel like it's someone in the Ministry of Magic, because I still think that there's like a double agent somehow
Yeah.
in it, because what's her name?
And isn't
Brenda?
Ludo Bertha's
Bertha
boss?
Jorkins.
Like,
Yeah.
it's with a
Brenda.
B.
These names are a lot.
What were we saying?
Well, Bertha worked for Ludo. So that would
But
partly
both.
explain
But
why
she
it
worked
took
for
so long.
both Crouch
She
and-
did. She jumped around a little, but Ludo was the
lot.
person who didn't send like a search party for her. So like he let that go under the radar for too long. And I'm like, that just felt suspicious. I do like him as a character until that like clearing thing with the conjuring, whatever. I wasn't really suspicious of him in particular, but something was up. But then after that, I was like, ooh, now I'm suspicious of him. Although I'm suspicious of a lot of people.
Yeah, you have general suspicion of everyone.
Yeah.
After
I'm like,
the first
Sirius
book,
Black came back and conjured this up. And yeah.
after the first book, you were like, I can't trust anybody.
Yep.
I don't like anybody in this
Anyone
book.
could have Voldemort on the back of their head and I wouldn't even know it.
But we'll talk about this when we get to chapter 9, because this is the meat of chapter 9.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
anyway, welcome to the podcast. I'm John.
Jen.
Oh, I forgot. You can't get involved. Oh, I'm Danny.
Kristen, why can't I get involved?
With the theorizing of who you think it
yeah.
is. I was like, oh, Kristen didn't go.
No, that's okay.
And this is Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. That's going to be a great intro. I like
great.
that.
Break up the monotony.
That's okay. I'm just sitting here crocheting.
Okay, we are on to chapters 6 through 10. I don't know if we're going to get through chapters 9 and 10 because they're so meaty, so we'll see. Also, as a side note, can you show them what you're knitting? Oh my gosh. For live
Weasley
stream people,
jumper.
we have Weasley jumpers. I am so excited for this. She's making one for all of us.
So cool.
Okay, for
Your
Kristen.
dreams are coming true.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, literally.
You
my
did that
dreams.
in one day.
Yeah.
You probably spent
Well, I
hours
started
on
it
that,
yesterday.
though. Okay.
I didn't have work this morning.
That is so
I've become a
awesome.
little obsessive, guys.
It's so cool.
It's fun.
Anyway, okay, we're on to chapter 6. Let's try to get through as much as we can because these are meaty chapters. So, talk to me about what the summary is of chapter 6. Do we remember it?
Sorry, I was distracted by the crocheting. The speed. I'm just
I know,
like,
it's-
what the?
It's otherworldly.
Okay.
Get distracted by
Chapter 6, yes.
By the end of this podcast, she's gonna have a full one done already.
Well, there's only a couple more rows. This panel should be
That's
finished.
crazy. It's so cool.
I put everyone gets woken up in the middle of the night to make it to the port key, which transports them to the World Cup. Was that everything?
Yeah, I
That's
think
really
we
short.
met
Yeah.
Amos Diggory, I put, and learned about
yeah.
port keys and apparition tests. But yeah.
All right. It opens like this. Harry felt as though he had barely lain down to sleep in Ron's room when he was being shaken awake by Mrs. Weasley. And I have to say, is there a worse feeling than that feeling where you just feel like you have fallen asleep and then all of a sudden you're being woken up by someone?
That was the worst.
What is a worse feeling than that in the world?
Come on in, Mel.
Mel.
Hello.
Also, yeah, for anybody watching the live stream, this is Mel. This is our other friend who likes to hang out. We got a whole crew here. Wes is excited to see you.
Sorry, John. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
Is there anything
Yeah.
worse than that feeling? Like, I can
I'm
specifically
sure there
say
is something
a
worse.
canceled. One of the worst for me too was when you were expecting a snow day. You wake up
Oh, my
and you
goodness.
see nothing, and you're like, I have to go to
So
school.
devastating.
Oh, that is a great comparison.
What's the worst feeling as a kid? That's the question.
As a kid, got it.
Or as an
kid.
adult. Could be an adult too.
I feel like one of those feelings that has been very similar from childhood through now is the feeling of Sunday night when you realize you have work or school in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yep.
Like there's always
Yep,
a point on Sunday where it hits you and you're like, oh, the freedom I'm experiencing now will not be true tomorrow. And I feel like that feeling as a kid for school is
Yeah.
the same now with work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you just made me think about. I hated swimming lessons as a kid. I had to go swim in the lake. It was disgusting. I hated it. And it must have been in August because it's when all the crickets and everything come out. So every year, even like this past year, I'm in my 30s. This hasn't happened for years and years. I can still get that like nervous feeling. I'm like,
Yeah.
at night when the crickets are, I'm like, I have swimming lessons tomorrow. It's the worst.
Yeah.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
That was just me personally.
Yeah.
Mm.
I grew up the same with soccer practice. I hated it going to it, and then I started liking soccer, and then that feeling embedded, so that was kind of nice. But I
was gonna say, I
hated
thought you liked
practices
it.
in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the worst.
Yeah.
One of you got any, Jen?
I'm trying to think still. You can keep going.
Someone, I put this out on our subreddit, and I said, "Is this the worst feeling ever? Is there a worse feeling as a kid?" And so Lone Carnivore said, "The years of abuse Harry suffered at the hands of his aunt and uncle." Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're right on that one. But come on, work with me here.
That is so true.
And then Adventurous Handle, someone else in our subreddit said waking up for school on a Monday morning. She said he or she said I'm nocturnally based, so any morning is worse for me, but especially Mondays are the worst. Same as an adult. Waking up on a Monday morning.
The worst.
There was one time where I slept through all my alarms and I woke up.
Oh,
Oh.
that's
When you
a
wake
bad
up
feeling.
and you're like,
Oh,
oh my
that-
gosh,
just
I
panic.
missed half my class. Well, that was in college once. And then one time at work, I'm a big snoozer. So I somehow turned it off. And I was supposed to be at work I was supposed to be clocked in 10 minutes. And I
Oh
woke
my
up and I
gosh.
was like, oh, I can't even get ready in 10 minutes. I'm going to get
goodness.
to work in 10 minutes.
I had that happen one time when I was teaching dance. Both my parents came in. They freaked me out, woke me up. I was like, "What happened?" They were like, "Your first class started 10 minutes ago." Like
Oh,
my
that's
class
the
of 3-year-olds
worst.
were there, and I was 10 minutes late, and like I had to get out of bed, and I was like,
oh
"I'm so
my
sorry."
goodness.
That was terrible.
That's bad.
Your
That
heart
was-
literally takes
I-
like a leap out of your chest when that
Yes.
stuff happens.
I
You're
think
like,
I was I think
shot
I
of
was 9
adrenaline.
I think I was
Oh my
19.
gosh.
I was never late again after that. I was like, not gonna happen.
Lesson learned.
I didn't learn my lesson, I guess.
Kaylee said that explains a lot. I'm never late. I am like perpetually like early. Early is on
Yeah,
time.
you're always usually the earliest
I can't.
podcast.
Yeah. It's my inner clock. Anyway, moving on.
Next question. You need a license to apparate. Do you think the magical world should require a license to do anything else? And what should that thing be?
I just love, like, what does that look like? Like, they have to show their license when they
Little ID.
land. Like, by the way, I made it here safe. Like,
I think it's like a driver's license. Like, you have it, but you can go anywhere, but you're not going to get pulled over. Maybe every once in a while
How
you
would
get
you
pulled over in the
That's
magical
what I'm saying.
world.
Like, I don't get what this license is. Just that you'd pass a test. I mean, I wouldn't want to, if I failed that test, I wouldn't be operating because what happens to you if your body parts everywhere?
Oh gosh.
No, thank
Oh,
you.
yeah. That was bizarre.
So
Wait,
if that's
who was
what
it
a
who failed?
license means, then yes, I think you should have a license.
Yeah.
But in our term of license, I feel like, what is that?
I think
Sorry,
Bill or Charlie
officer.
failed that. They said they landed
Yeah.
3 miles away from where
Right.
they
Oh,
were
right.
supposed to go.
They were in one piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in one piece. They didn't splish
Yeah.
themselves, which was nice. But
I'm wondering how that even works. Or maybe we'll see it later, but I'm like, how do you just like go somewhere? You just think about it? Can you only go places you've been before? Is there a map? Do you have to plot this out? Do you whisper it to your wand? I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
Many
curious.
questions.
See nothings to your wall.
Yeah. But like they make it look so
wanna
easy.
go
I don't
home.
know. And then you could be 5 miles off, but like could it it could go really wrong, I'm imagining. But there are places you can't.
Split apart.
Yeah, or you could accidentally apparate like underground or something.
Oh
And
my goodness.
In the ocean.
or yeah, outer
In
space.
space.
I feel like I couldn't apparate because if I split in half, I'd pass out.
Yeah, but we drive and people. Well, that's dangerous too. So you know. And to answer your question, John, I think yes, licenses for lots of things, and that in my mind is kind of what the owls are, because if you have ordinary wizarding levels, maybe it's not quite a license, but it feels like in my mind that determines what you're allowed to do. Like if you're at a certain level, you're allowed to study certain types of spells. You might learn more. We know that for the use of the time turner, Hermione had to get permission. So that's not a license, but it is the same idea. Like the Ministry of Magic governs the use. But what I also think is interesting is the Ministry of Magic is the one issuing the license and deciding who can use the time turner. But they're not the only game in town anymore. Or maybe they're the only game in town and country, but they're not the only game in the world.
Okay, yeah.
Because we learned in these chapters about, that was next chapter, I should probably save it for, but about embargoes. So there are like multiple magic governing bodies around the world that have rules and restrictions.
like every country has their own government. Every magical
their
area
own
has their own-
licenses.
for sure.
So, Wizards got a lot of rules,
Yeah.
but they could move somewhere with less rules, more freedom.
And this is fun too because it's expanding the universe. Like these chapters
Yeah.
really do a great job of expanding things in this universe.
Huge.
It's so fun. So people are resonating with you, Kristen. They're saying they hate fish, so they don't want to swim in lakes.
Oh.
Let's
Yeah.
chill, dude. One of my
Yep.
favorite
Well,
uses
this lake
over here.
had apparently there was leeches in it, so that was a big
Oh,
nope,
yeah,
nope.
got a few leeches on me. It's not fun. Not a fun feeling. So they wake up early to get to this port key. Another side question: what is the earliest that you've ever woken up? Do you remember?
Definitely the middle of the night.
But like for something that you had to do, not just like woken up. Like
No,
you can go back
like
to bed.
going on vacation. So I'm trying to think. We would, because when you said that, being woken up as a kid, I have mixed feelings because we used to get woken up to go to the shore every year. It might have been 4 a.m. because my dad liked to get on the road by
Wait.
like 5 sometimes.
The shore, as in the Jersey Shore. Oh,
Oh,
whatever,
well, it's out there now.
whatever. Like that shore.
Yeah. My dad wanted to miss traffic. So it was our family vacation.
Wow.
We'd always go. But
I kind of respect it.
Yeah.
yeah, it was really,
But
really
that's
early.
Really early.
But I'm trying to think. We've definitely, I've gotten early flights. I feel like, I don't know, all hours of the night. I don't know.
I remember
What
because
about you
my
guys?
family was pretty cheap. So we would have soccer tournaments, and we had a soccer tournament like 2 hours away once. And we had a game at 7 a.m. We had to get there an hour early. And my family didn't want to pay for a hotel over there. So we're like, we're just going to drive in the morning. I remember waking up at 3:30 in the morning to go to a soccer game that started at 7. Miserable. It was awful.
How do you play?
I was going to say, could you
I
even
feel like-
play well?
Huh?
You play well. I said,
No, you
how
don't play
do
well,
you
but you're
play?
just, you're a kid, so you can play through
Ah.
anything like that. I was like,
So you must have been
10
a
years
superstar
old.
if you were good then.
no.
And you were
I was not.
deprived. Did
Nope.
you go to bed super early? Is the
Yeah, of course.
question.
Probably go to bed at like 6 or something like that. That was like my bedtime when I was 10 years old. I don't remember, but it might have been. Yeah.
And I probably woke up really early for things, and of course, like all-nighters at random points. But an all-nighters are not the same as waking up early. I'm thinking,
They're worse.
no, they're great.
Not when you're a kid.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it
Well,
would
it
be
kind of
horrible.
depends.
Sorry.
Some all-nighters aren't too bad. And it's usually for good reason, unless it's for studying or something you don't really want to do. But I know for things in space, I've woken up at weird times because I love space. So sometimes there are meteor showers or
Yeah.
weird astronomical events
You're,
that
like,
happen
going up
at
into
specific
space.
times. So then I'm like, you wake up at some weird time and then you go off to like watch something and then you come back. But it does feel really good to get back in bed after
Yeah,
that
it's one
because
of the best
sometimes you can
feelings
do
ever.
that. And that's very different than having to drive 2 hours and play soccer.
Yeah. It's kind of nice to just jump back in bed after those times.
Hmm.
Would you rather travel by broom, apparition, or by port key? Or by flying carpet? How comfy would that be? Like
That'd be so
this
great.
plush carpet
Just
in my
watched
office
Aladdin
right
the
here?
other night.
It'd be so great.
And it could hold like 12 people, the one thing said.
Yeah.
That's great.
Family vehicle.
But
Huge market for that in the wizarding world right now.
Weasleys have one?
Huh. Well, we'll get to it. I was going to ask carpet questions, but I feel like for me, apparating would probably be the best. You could be at work, apparate home, cook yourself lunch, apparate back.
Yeah, it'd be great. Your
That'd be
commute.
convenient.
Yeah.
But I still don't fully understand it. I don't know the
Would
limits.
you pass the test?
And could I pass? I end up who knows where. Or even if I didn't pass, would I do it anyway without a license?
Probably.
Maybe. Maybe. At least in my younger years, I would have.
Apparate. Yeah, I would love to. It's like snapping your fingers.
Yeah.
and
I
being
was going to say
somewhere.
operating.
Pretty-
As long as I can do it properly and keep myself in one piece.
Yeah. What your
Although, how
superpower is.
fast
You don't
do
want to
these
get
brooms
splinched.
go?
A firebolt can go pretty darn fast. According to the
know.
third movie, Harry was just a blur at the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, that'd probably be fun.
It would
Is that
be
like
so
your race
fun.
car? Like a Sunday stroll on the broom? And then every other day.
Be kind of fun. Also, Amos Diggory works for the Department of the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures. Did he vote yes on killing Buckbeak?
That's such a messed up question.
Why?
Why would you do that to me?
Well, if you don't think he would, then it'd be no.
I mean, he annoyed me in this.
but was he on the
chapter,
committee?
but-
We don't know how big the
Yeah,
department
we
is.
don't
He
know.
might not have
True.
been on the committee.
You think it actually went through the committee? I think it was a.
So
this
Lucius,
is stopping here.
Lucius bullied them, probably. But still, maybe Amos is a person who can get bullied.
But he just
and
stood up for his
does-
son. I mean, no, that
Yeah,
wasn't
but-
really.
But he was
Nah.
intense in these chapters. I'm going to ask you guys this question later when we hit chapter 9. But his interrogation of Winky was frightening, I think.
It was intense.
I thought that's what you're supposed to do as a.
Well,
What was so bad about it?
It was leading.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, I can't wait to get there. Hold on
Wow.
to
Well,
this.
yeah, we'll get there. We'll see. But
Yeah. Oh my
what was so bad
goodness.
about it? I do that all the time.
Yeah.
That's great.
Honestly, I don't remember. So
I was gonna
that's
say
probably
I should have
why.
read these chapters again.
I did
Yeah.
just re-listen.
Hmm.
I couldn't
'Cause
tell you.
He was he has even in this chapter he kind of annoys me a little bit. He has that one line where he goes, I'm sure Harry'd say the same, wouldn't you, eh? One falls off his broom, one stays on. You don't need to be a genius to tell which one's the better
so
flyer.
That
Right, yeah.
annoyed me.
Oh,
so
yeah.
And his son
much.
is like, "No, Dad, shut up,
Yeah.
please." But it's at one point you love it because it's a dad who's really proud of his son, really has a lot of pride in it. But at another moment you hate it because it's not how it went down.
And I like that Cedric was kind of standing up for Harry a little and being like, "That's not how it happened. You know why?" Like, so it made me like Cedric more.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't offended by his father. I felt like he was just proud of his son, but I was annoyed by it at the same time.
Oh, it annoyed me. I loved Cedric, but his father was annoying.
Yeah.
And we get-
Also, Amos said Merlin's beard, And when I hear Merlin, I'm thinking Sword in the Stone.
Yeah.
And I can just hope that he's a real wizard.
Yes.
And that they know who he is and there are books written about him.
Yeah.
So maybe we hear more about Merlin.
They have this in the third book where Snape should be getting an Order of Merlin, second class.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
I think Fudge said first class if you can try, but he was supposed to get an Order of Merlin, so maybe there's more about that.
What the heck?
So
I
maybe-
missed all of that. The two of you. What are you watching and reading?
I have read these 10 times, Jen. More than 10
well,
times.
Danny's still on the same level as you. You better
Not on the
freshen
same
up
level.
and stuff.
But it's different when
The first
reading and
time reader,
listening.
you're screwed.
Jen, your vampire.
I'm a vampire?
No, your vampire
Oh.
is Cedric Diggory in the movie. In this,
And
this is where he comes up because he is in
I
the
will
third one,
see
but he's in
him.
the fourth one.
Good old
does he
Edward.
look like a vampire?
No.
But what, Jen? What is your impression of Amos and Cedric?
I didn't really.
You didn't have an impression,
I
which is fine because they're kind of minor.
I was
right?
Yeah.
just like, oh, okay, great. Their dynamic as father son is interesting. It's like Cedric is more like conscientious of people's feelings. It doesn't want anyone to feel bad. I guess with this Harry Potter, the whole Quidditch match thing, he's downplaying what happened. I don't know. That's it. I didn't think anything of the dad. I was just like, oh, okay, he's
Standard dad, proud of his son.
yeah.
Whatever. Lives near the Weasleys.
I like Jim Dale's accents for all. Of
Oh,
them.
nice.
They were pretty good.
There's people on our live stream that are commenting too. People, our friend goes, Merlin is the heckin' OG. He goes, Cedric always seemed like a chill lad. And then Merlin's, we'll talk about this later, but Let's Chill Dude said Merlin's whole story is strange. So we might get there. We'll see if we get there in the books.
Nice.
The real story is pretty strange too.
True.
But last question on this chapter, unless you guys have any more points you want to talk about. How do you guys feel about the wizarding world spreading trash around the world in order just as disguised as porkies?
It just doesn't make any sense. They get to the location that has a very strict time frame and they have to look around for something. I'm like, why not just make portkeys like all the same thing at least?
That's what I thought it was going to be.
Like it's always a boot or like it's something else or make it invisible but it's in a specific location or like make it a rock. Yeah, exactly.
I forgot it was going to like
we
travel
talked about
with
geocaching
you.
yesterday. And Jen didn't know what it was.
It's great.
But it is great. So yeah, it's very high stakes geocaching. It did feel a little sloppy and funny, but also littering. Come on. But in a sense, they are picking it up when they
Well,
get back.
it goes with them though.
Oh, that's kind of true. It's like a
True.
set time. So even though nobody was there, the boot would just like disappear. Imagine a muggle just hiking in the woods and they see like a piece of
Well,
trash.
that's what I
and
was thinking. I'm
boom,
like, what if they
disappears.
accidentally touch it like right at the right
Oh,
moment?
and if they were holding it,
right.
someone's just picking up
Because they just have
trash.
to be touching it.
Yeah. Wow. This
They're
was
on a
but
prison
it is
release
on a
picking
time,
up
though.
trash
Yeah,
and
but,
then
like,
boom, they
What if
disappear.
it's like
That's
just the
what I'm saying.
perfect moment
Yeah.
where they're like, oh no.
It's funny too because this might have been a whole plot by J.K. to get muggles to pick up trash because you're walking through the woods now and you're like, that could be a portkey. You have a whole trash bag and you're like, all these could be portkeys.
That is great.
Any other points in chapter 6?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Let's hit chapter 7. Bagman and Crouch. What is a summary of this chapter? Time out. Danny, we got a comment here.
Uh-oh.
Your roommate has read all the books and not watched all the movies.
Oh, I totally messed it up. He corrected me later when I got home. and I was like,
thing.
that is a very
such
huge
a
thing.
difference between the two.
I know. And then I was like, oh, shoot. And he thinks Dumbledore is manipulative and he read all the books. Now what am I going to think? But
Yeah, don't give any spoilers.
yeah,
please.
right. Of course, different opinions. Everyone's going to interpret
of
things
course.
differently.
Yeah,
I almost
he's
liked it
Slytherin.
better thinking that he had like a not good opinion on it. But then I was like, oh, shoot, he actually read all 7 books.
That's so funny.
So, yeah, he's not a movie man, but he's a book man.
All right. I like
Be
it.
extra
Yep.
careful.
All right. What do we think? Chapter 7, Bagman and Crouch. What happened in this chapter?
Hanging out in Tent City.
Yeah.
It was buying cool stuff, preparing for the game. A little bit of Ministry of Magic drama.
Yeah. We meet Bagman and
And
Crouch.
then we meet them.
Yeah.
We meet them. Yeah,
Nailed it,
certainly
Jen.
do.
I was
Okay.
gonna
If you had to hide a Quidditch World Cup game, how would you hide it?
Oh.
They mentioned a few things. They say they couldn't do it in Diagon Alley. It'd be too crazy. Do you like the system that they have, or do you think there's a better way to hide
Honestly, I don't even know where it was.
it? Yeah, I mean, no one does.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, I probably missed this one.
Just off in the
Wasn't it just in the middle
countryside.
of, yeah.
And we know that the Muggles spoke English.
Yeah.
But they can't see it. Like, I didn't understand any of it. Like, they
Right,
go to
right.
the port key, but then there are some muggles there that, like, kind of know what's going on, and they, like, wipe their memory. The map,
This-
like, I was so confused.
I mean, there is no campsite I know of on Earth that is quite as big as this. So it might be like faulty, but maybe this is what like Burning Man or Coachella.
Honestly, that's what came to mind. Like when I was reading this, because it was in
All right,
England, I
that
was thinking
helps
like
me visualize
Glastonbury or something, like a big festival out there where this dude Roberts is like, usually it's, hippies or people on Molly or, rock stars that are out here. So like, this is weird. They're a bunch of weird people, but he's used to it, It must be in an area like that. It's the only way that it would make sense for a Muggle to be remotely like down with all these people setting up tents in his yard. But it seems like, wait, they're paying him, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're paying
Yeah.
him because they had the whole weird money interaction. So he's kind of down. It probably is on like festival grounds or something. Or all the things we Muggles think are festivals are just wizards getting together.
Seriously.
I feel like doing it
Guys
on an
are gonna go
island or somewhere
hopping
far away
around
would
the
be better. But
country.
On an island far away, that could be good. Like an island that no one really inhabits. Everyone go there, camps out for a little bit.
like there are
Yeah.
kind of a lot of those islands around the world.
Yeah.
Seems
talked
safer than
about-
someone could like drive there. Someone could be flying over in a plane. Muggles could be hiking. It feels a little vulnerable, but they put protections in place.
And it's also insane. I feel so bad for this guy who's the camp manager. His brain is mush right now.
I know. Well, I was laughing listening to our last podcast. Jen, you were like, is there going to be Dementors that are security or whatever? And I was like, nope, Muggles.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel
Muggle.
like it's like opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Literally
Yup.
no security at this thing.
Quidditch, yeah. But
Ha-
no, the Ministry of Magic though is they're in charge of like the security,
Yeah.
and they use Muggles.
No, I mean they're not. I guess
They're
they're kind of using
them.
Muggles here.
They are because
Yeah.
Didn't they call it
okay,
Muggle security, or did I make that up?
I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. I don't remember that part.
Details clearly left my mind.
I wrote it down. That's why I'm saying that. I thought I
I-
saw.
I should do that.
I think they're using
Have to.
Muggles
But I'm
in just
usually
this way for like they're giving them campsites and giving them money
Hmm.
for that kind of stuff. I don't think they're necessarily like giving them the DL because they keep obliviating them every 5 seconds.
I know,
Right.
but that's terrible.
I know.
And then they go, like, that's fine. I don't.
It
Whatever.
also,
It's
this
so
is part
sad.
of what annoyed me with Mr. Weasley. He couldn't figure out money. I'm like, it's not that complicated. He's like, what is this, a 50? No, it says like 10 on it. Just use the numbers it says. So it just felt
Weird
like,
with his role,
what?
like his career, like what.
Well, yeah,
what his
not to mention
title
even
is.
with his career, but let's say he was looking at this for the first time in his life, literally, which wouldn't be true, but even if he was, money's pretty straightforward. So it just kind of annoyed me, or not annoyed me, but it was just like, is he dumber than I think he is? And it started to just shift my view of him a little bit, that he couldn't figure out Muggle money, or I started to think maybe he genuinely isn't that good at his job. Because up until this point, I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to believe he's still good at it. And now I'm like, man, he doesn't even know Muggle money.
Yeah.
So just because he's dumb, he lost respect in your eyes.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
That
His
is
intelligence
great.
and his being not good at his job. No, I don't want to hate too much because I really do like him.
Right.
But he went from up here to here. He went from a 10 to a 7.
Down here.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
shocking.
Yep. But towards the end, maybe he jumped back up to an 8. But
What if
I just
he
have a
has-
little less confidence in him.
What if he? Because I saw something somewhere, Pinterest maybe. But what if he is good at his job, and he's doing this on purpose
Ooh, I like
to
this.
give the kids confidence to help him out,
I kind of like that.
right?
I can get behind this a little bit.
A little twist, because you can kind of relate to the kids, have them like feel confident.
yeah.
And
even with the
Hermione
matches, he's
helped
having his
him.
fun,
Yep.
but trying to like help others. Again, that friendliness. Like I can be down.
Because I feel like every instance, it
Yeah.
was one of the kids helping him, right?
Yeah.
And so his joy at failing at these things isn't joy in like the Muggle artifacts themselves. It's the joy at the kids helping him to do this kind of stuff and have confidence to do it. I like that.
I know.
It's becoming
I like that
headcanon
too.
for me. Well done.
Thank you.
I do like that.
Again,
I think that
can't take
helps
credit
balance
for
a
that.
little out. I'm still annoyed about the whole issue with the flu powder showing up at the Dursleys.
Yeah.
Again, that kind of started things off
That
on the
was
wrong
ridiculous.
foot. But
Aside from that.
even that, I mean, like there could have been it could have come from a good place. Maybe that's why they were late. He didn't want to leave anyone
He also has like
behind.
1,000 kids. So like, how does your brain work properly, anyways?
He would never have had that many kids if his brain worked properly.
Just like I'm one of 5, we relate to everything. No offense to you, Mom and Dad. there
There's-
was a lot of us.
There's also
Yes.
something that's pretty inexcusable, but kind of hilarious for me at the end of chapter 9 when everything goes to crap. He meets this crowd of wizards and witches at like the edge of the woods, and he doesn't really answer any of their questions, and they're all so curious about what's going to happen. And he goes, I'm just going to go to bed. See you guys later. Like a ministry official is coming out of the woods. Everyone's like, please put my mind at ease. And he's just like, I'm going to go to bed. Like, what the heck? Give me something here. But we'll talk about that when we get there. How do you think they should actually deal with Mr. Roberts? This is a weirder question maybe. Should some muggles just be able to know about wizards and witches? Like, should they just have not obliviated him at all, and Mr. Roberts will go tell all of his friends,
I feel like that's
oh,
really
wizards,
risky.
but all of his friends are going to think he's insane. How are they going to believe him? It's like those people out there in our world today who are like, aliens exist. Maybe they do. They probably do. You never know. But like, everyone thinks they're ridiculous for believing that.
I kind of feel like there should be some muggles that are in on it. But I don't know.
Yeah, but
How do you choose which
Wouldn't
ones?
that be the
Well,
Dursleys?
honestly, like that is the hard part.
Ouch.
And Hermione's parents, like all the like half-bloods, or I don't know what you're supposed to call them.
Do you think the Muggle prime minister and like the Muggle president of the United States knows about these? It's in the president's
Do
book
I
of
think
secrets?
any of the presidents are actual muggles or just wizards playing roles?
Oh my gosh.
So then, what's our president?
Because with this kind of power, I'm like, it just feels too weird. I'm like, I can't now believe that muggles are out there genuinely running things with no wizard interference. There would have to be wizards all throughout various steps in government. And I would think the various ministries of magic would be putting people into power to help smooth things over with the muggle world and keep things under wraps. That's kind of my theory. Because some of the spells would make it a lot easier to get into power. But that's partly why I think muggles should know about wizards, because there should probably be a muggle council that gets to represent all the muggles to the wizards.
Yeah.
Because it feels like there are no rules. The wizards get to decide how they treat muggles.
Yeah.
It just seems bizarre. There's no check and balance to this, and I'm not into that.
Yeah. It's a weird system right now. Yeah. There are funny lines in this though. There's one that I really like where as they're walking through the tents, they're seeing different countries display whatever they have. And Mr. Weasley goes, always the same. We can't resist showing off when we get together. There's a funny note in this too. Or here's just a side question. How do you like the idea of walking into a tent and it expanding into this massive like flat that
I
you
love
have?
that. I would
That's
actually
really
go
cool.
camping.
How amazing would that be?
I would go camping
So
then.
Yeah.
cool.
There you go.
It kind of reminds me of those like trailers though, that like they're the RVs that are just like, and then they expand out.
Yeah.
Once you
Oh
camp.
yeah.
That's
You
the
just,
Muggle
like,
version of it.
push Open all the walls. But the tent, yeah. I love how they were still trying to make a fire.
And
Even
they
though
had to go
like,
draw
a
water.
stove
Yeah.
and a bathroom and everything.
Do you think wizards can magically produce water? Like they had to go draw water because Mr. Weasley liked that idea. Do you think like they could just say, like water come out of my wand?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Why
Yeah.
not? Yeah.
Do you think they could do that with food?
That'd be awesome.
Burger?
Why wouldn't they be?
I feel like we would have seen that already.
I know, but why
I
wouldn't they be
feel
able
like
to?
they could, but maybe the balance to that would be it wouldn't be nutritious. Maybe the food would taste good, but it wouldn't actually fill you. Or maybe the water would feel like water, but it wasn't actually hydrating you. Because then I'm just like, could you? Maybe you could. But we haven't seen anyone do it. And wouldn't we?
Yeah, probably. We'd probably see that at this point already. Maybe they're just not advanced enough wizards to be able to do
True.
that.
Maybe the elemental stuff is pretty advanced.
There's another note here. And Harry kind of has this head point where he goes, it was only just dawning on Harry how many witches and wizards there must be in the world. He had never really thought about much, or he had never thought much about those in other countries. How large do you think the wizarding world is? Do you think we're talking like 10 million, 100 million? Maybe it's a weird question, but...
I'm looking at you.
I was gonna
to
say I
hear
don't know how to
numbers.
answer this. You go.
And like million is even just a hard conception to come up with, but...
There was
hard to say.
100,000, right, at the Quidditch World Cup.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The stadium fit 100,000.
Times that by whatever you want.
800 kids at Hogwarts. They're coming from all around England, parts of Ireland, Scotland. So we'll say Great Britain. 800 kids. But do we know if there are any other schools? We know there's one in France now.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm just trying to think, like, if there are 800 children of school age within Great Britain that are wizards, if that was the only school, that would give us like a starting point for estimating the world.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that math, but it's something.
Okay. So we talked about this in a little bit before with me nerding out about all the different schools.
Yeah.
There's 9 major wizarding schools. I think there's 8. I forgot. Someone was talking about that on subreddit. But we have in this area alone like 100 schools within like a 20-mile radius. And some of them are like 800 students in the high school. Just like one town has that. So there's a point someone was making on subreddit of it's ridiculous how poorly educated the whole wizarding world must be, or there must be a million other schools out there that we just don't know about.
Right.
Because think about it. Who's the only Irish person we know in this whole book? So
Seamus?
far? Seamus Finnegan.
Yeah.
So he's the only person at Hogwarts, we'll say, who might be Irish. If there's like one person graduating every like 7 years, how the heck is the Irish Quidditch team this good? They have slim pickings.
Great point.
So like Hogwarts is the school for this whole area. So if there's not tons and tons of wizards and witches coming there, there's a little bit of a flaw in the system. There must be wizarding public school. Maybe homeschooling
you said that in the
is a big
last one, and I
contingent.
missed it until I heard the podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so brilliant.
There's got to be
Public
something like
schools.
that.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. There's got to be more. But we didn't have anything from the books to go on until these chapters. It's the first time another school's been mentioned. And it's really our first major exposure to other countries too. So now we're learning more. It's expanding. But there's more to learn still.
Yeah, seriously.
Also, when they were walking through the tents, they saw 2 girls riding toy broomsticks that only rose high enough for the girls' toes to skim the grass. Why doesn't Hogwarts have these?
these?
They're literally, these
Why?
girls are learning when they're like 3 years old. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Practice
That's
brooms.
also weird, though. Then how come everyone else had to learn it?
Nobody like knew how to do it. Well, I have no idea. Maybe the toy brooms are a new
I was
invention.
gonna say maybe it's new.
Yeah, totally could be. But I
That just seems so weird. That's another flaw.
Doesn't make any sense.
no, it's great.
Like Neville would not have broken his arm if they had these.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
It's like a bike with training wheels, you
Yeah.
know? It's something Hogwarts should look into.
I guess I was thinking they're like the country folk, like
Oh yeah, they can drive when they're so young, you
The
know,
Hicks.
because they've been plowing fields. Same thing
I
with
said it
the witches.
nicely, John.
The rednecks.
You can call them whatever you want.
Here's
This-
also.
Oh yeah,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go.
No. All you.
The Salem Witches Institute,
Yeah.
is that another name for Ilvermorny, or are there two schools that came from the same thing, or is the Witches Institute for graduate studies?
It's like
All
a
right,
little
lots
college.
of possibilities.
University
All
or
right.
college. I love that.
Do you read or you like study? Like I don't
I know.
catch any of this.
You didn't catch the Salem Witches Institute?
No,
That's
I
a
thought that
big
was
one,
I
Jen.
thought that was.
because I'm driving.
Yeah, it's true.
Fair,
You are
yeah,
listening
and
to
if
it.
something happens, you can't just like
Yeah.
pause it every
I
time.
tried to
yeah.
rewind. But
Well, glad that you haven't gotten any accidents yet.
Hmm.
that is
Rapidly
true.
trying to rewind
and
something.
aren't you glad that I'm not the only one on this podcast who catch details?
But if
remember
you,
reading
so
it,
here's a side question on the Salem Witches Institute. If you could go visit any other country to see how they do magic, what other country would you go visit? Because other countries probably do it slightly differently. Like, would you want to go to the Salem Witches Institute in Massachusetts or wherever that would be? Probably Massachusetts, and go see how they're doing magic there.
I feel like that would be good. I feel like the Romance languages have a lot of their spells based in Latin. It would be interesting to go to a country where their spells might be based in another language. That'd be kind of cool, but it would be so hard to apply anything you learn. Maybe it wouldn't
Yeah.
be worth it. So going to a school, I guess for them, easy, jump over to France, start learning with those guys. And somewhere, somebody was going to do a foreign exchange program. Who was that?
Oh yeah,
Was it like
remember
one of the Weasleys were going to do that? Oh, yeah.
Ron. No. Was
Yeah,
it?
no. It could have been Percy, or maybe it was
think
like
they
Bill
had-
or Charlie.
they had
They
a
had
pen
a pen
pal.
pal.
Yeah.
Well, they don't use pens. It should be a quill pal. but
Yeah.
we'll forgive them that linguistic
a great
stumble.
point.
Write that down.
What did they call it? They didn't call it a pen pal.
They called it a like pen friend, which has a nice
It made me
rhyme
laugh,
to
'cause I
it,
was like, that's not-
but it's not what we would
No.
call it, and it's like it doesn't make sense. They don't use pens. So, anyways, and then I didn't think it was reasonable that the pen friend got so mad at them when they couldn't do a foreign exchange. But
yeah, that was a little.
dramatic.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where that was, but it was somewhere in here.
There's also a really funny line that I love in this,
Oh, it's on page 84. Yeah.
where there's two wizards talking, and one of them says, "I'm not putting them on," referring to the trousers, said old Archie in indignation. "I like a healthy breeze around my privates,
Oh,
thanks."
yeah. That was great.
That was great.
So
I remember where
funny.
I was listening to that one. Wow.
It's so good. And then there's a small mention here where Mr. Weasley's showing them a lot of people, and he goes, "That's Bode and Croaker. They're unspeakables." They're what? From the Department of Mysteries. Top secret. No idea what they get up to.
It's like the CIA.
Yeah, what do you think they're doing down there at the Department of Mysteries? Is this wizarding the NSA or the CIA, CS, whatever?
But then wouldn't they know
FBI,
where
whatever.
Voldemort is?
Yeah,
Letters
okay.
mixed up.
Do they know where Voldemort is?
Maybe they're in on it too. I don't know. They're trying to find all the, what are they called? The hooded the eaters. What are they called?
The Death
Dementors?
Eaters?
No,
The Death Eaters?
Yes, Death Eaters, right? Because I have not seen any of the words. I've only heard
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to talk about that in chapter 9.
I don't forget what I was saying. Oh, that they were looking for them, maybe. If
Yeah.
they're CIA agents
Yeah,
Hmm.
seriously.
in such a form. But then why didn't they show up with the dark mark?
It's a great question. I can't make any faces.
You made one. It was very interesting. I wish you saw your face. That's all I got.
Any ideas what they do in the Department of Mysteries, Danny?
No, I'm not really sure. It seems kind of crazy. The world just got so big now
Yeah.
that there are so many possibilities. it feels like it's the top secret stuff. It would be talking to stuff at Gringotts. They discover something in a tomb in Egypt, and it's more powerful than they thought. The hieroglyphics, revealed some crazy new spell, or they accidentally unleashed some mummies that are walking around. Like, it feels like it'd be like at that level where they would try and keep it under wraps, make sure nobody even finds out about it. But I have no idea. But I hope it comes up again. And not just hope, I think it will come up again. It feels too cool to not. So we'll see.
Which one? So Bagman and Crouch both work at the Ministry of Magic. Do you remember what their jobs were? They were department heads of 2 different departments.
I think I wrote this down.
Yeah, so Ludo, he's the games guy.
Yeah.
Because he was...
Head of magical games and sports.
Yep. And Mr. Crouch was Percy's boss. So...
Isn't it law?
I forgot to write his down.
But it's like... It's like
laws,
regulation
yeah.
and international something.
Sure.
International standards, maybe? I forget what it was. Because
Percy was
Percy's doing
talking
the
about that,
cauldron
yeah.
stuff.
It's in the first or second chapter too, right?
I'm gonna look it up. So he is the head of the Department of International Magical Cooperation.
Ah, yes.
Good job, Danny.
So, who do you like more? Do you like Bagman or Crouch? Do you actually like Ludo, even though you think he might have?
I don't know if I like him
dark
anymore.
mark?
I'm still questioning that, to be honest, because he was very sketchy at the end of what we just read. But I like him up until the end. Like, he just seemed really fun, confident, big personality. Like, maybe not the kind of guy you'd want to hang out with all the time, but in short bits, he seems like a fun dude. And it seems like everyone kind of likes him, and he's like, he's a commanding presence. So yeah, I do think I like him. And first instinct on Crouch is that I don't like him, and I pretty much continue to not like him throughout the entire bit we just read, because then he's being mean to
Weatherby.
What?
Winky?
Winky.
He's being mean to Winky. But he's also
yeah,
being mean to Percy,
Weatherby.
calling him
When he
Weatherby.
said it, I was like,
Oh my God,
but he knows his last name. I was like,
hilarious.
he thinks that's his name. So funny. But yeah, you're right. Even from the first we meet him, he's being mean to Weatherby.
Do you think he's good at his job?
Yeah, I bet he's really good at his job.
Was he calling him that on purpose? I took it as he just didn't know him and
Yeah.
like picked a name.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he was being purposely mean, but
Oh,
it's mean
okay.
that he doesn't know his name, like the guy who's pretty much like his secretary or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's
And
not okay. I
son
just-
of one of his
That's
friends
how
too,
he
like not
treats
like a
Winky.
totally
Right,
random kid, you know.
True.
But I respect that he gets his job done, and he's like, seems like a hard worker. He showed up actually dressed like a muggle and dressed nice, wearing a suit, looking good. But then he just does a bunch of weird things, and I'm like, he's mean. He just doesn't seem like a nice guy. But I think that's what's cool about a scenario like this, where we are presented with Bagman and Crouch. One very likable, one very not. But that doesn't mean one's good and one's bad. It could be the opposite of what we think. And by the end of this stretch of chapters, we are still left in the dark. But I'm leaning towards Bagman's the bad guy. Crouch is a good guy.
Very interesting. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun.
Yeah, I loved their contrast because I
Yeah.
actually wrote down Bagman is a bit clueless and careless, being around muggles, and then Crouch is stiff and crisp.
Crisp, I like it.
I
Yep.
gotta share the Jim K versions when I get there. He does some great depictions of both of them. But I am telling you guys, this is one of the most fun experiences. You need to find people who don't know Harry Potter after you finish reading these, and just like force them to read it and just vicariously live through them, because this is the
'Cause you're
best
loving it.
experience ever. This point. I'm so happy about this.
Maybe eventually on the website you can post a guide to help
Yes.
people guide their
I'm
friends.
gonna post all my
through
notes.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna be so fun. This podcast can spread. We'll have like 20 seasons going on at once for all these different people vicariously living through other people who are reading Harry Potter for the first time. I think her writing gets really good in these chapters too.
Yep.
There's one paragraph that I really love, and some of it is like a little cheesy writing. It's a little cliche, but she says, "A sense of excitement rose like a palpable cloud over the campsite as the afternoon wore on. By dusk, the summer The still summer air itself seemed to be quivering with anticipation. As darkness spread like a curtain over the thousands of waiting wizards, the last vestiges of pretense disappeared. The ministry seemed to have bowed to the inevitable and stopped fighting, the signs of blatant magic now breaking out everywhere. And then there's a really great line. I love this idea so much. Like, I love sports intros. I don't know why, but I mean, I played sports, so that's why. But I love sports intros so much, and I think they do a sports intro so well. Everyone is waiting around these woods, and then all of a sudden this happens. Then a deep booming gong sounded somewhere beyond the woods, and at once green and red lanterns blazed into life in the trees, lighting a path to the pitch. I'm like, that is literally the coolest intro to go to a game. Like, it's all of a sudden it's all dark, and then this gong goes, and then there's these lighted paths to the pitch, and it's like everyone just goes there. I'm sorry, but I'm nerding out about that.
Yeah,
I love these Quidditch
so
stuff.
Great.
I don't remember
So
that part.
fun. You just skimmed right by it. You're like, get out of this Quidditch crap.
No, I actually liked the game. I
Yeah.
missed the intro.
I listened to it twice and I still missed it. That reminds me of like the halftime show at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Though,
Yeah.
where it's like blacked out and then it's
Yeah.
like boom, 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 and then the performers come.
Just exciting things happen.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the part I like about
And then we get the Vila and the Leprechauns. That's kind of their halftime show
the
too.
Vila. I just want to know what they look like.
I just thought of them as
Because
like
all
sirens.
guys go dumb. I think it was hysterical.
They're like sirens.
It's like they're
You could really tell she's writing this to like spite her old ex-boyfriend who like was
Yeah.
watching cheerleaders on the sideline or something like that.
So funny.
There is one last point in this chapter that I want to talk about. Harry buys Ron omnioculars. Is he super cheap for saying he won't get anything for him for Christmas?
For multiple
he's
years.
just saying that.
No, he was saying that because he
Only
knew
to make
Ron
Ron
wouldn't-
feel
yeah.
better. Yeah, he was still going to get him
Stop
stuff
calling these
later.
kids bad friends and whatever.
No, I'm not saying he's a bad friend. I'm just saying he's cheap.
Oh,
He is pretty cheap.
He
but he was
is.
doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
To
There's-
make
bought it?
Ron feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He still bought it. He would have been cheap if he didn't buy it.
Yeah.
We
very
could
true.
share.
But even
And
And
then-
for real, why do all of them need omniocular?
it even comes up
Yes, he's
at the
showing
end of
off.
chapter 10. He's being cheap again, where the Weasleys go into his vault. Mrs. Weasley does, to pick up stuff at Diagon Alley, and he said something like, I would give the Weasleys half of it, but I know they'd never take it.
Harry.
Like, well, you could try
try.
or do something, at least offer, but it means he never even tried. I'm like, come on, Harry.
Just please ask them once. Hey, Weasleys, can I offer even just money to compensate you for having me in your house for a month?
Yep.
Let
me buy all the
let them
groceries.
let them have the ability to say no. That's all I'm asking. Harry, you're a millionaire.
Although it seems like Fred and George might be getting pretty rich themselves.
Hey, I know.
Because this is where they placed the bet.
That one.
And I still don't have a great feel for how much a galleon is worth. But 37 galleons is still like a bunch
Yeah.
of money.
It's their life savings.
So yeah, they've been saving up for a while. Also the fact that Barty Crouch speaks 150 languages, weird, interesting. Kind of feel like that's going to come up again.
Yeah.
And to jump back again to Fred and George, I feel like when Bagman commented on their wand, it affirmed that they're good at this. Like, they're genuinely making products that a guy like this is
Yeah.
impressed by,
And
and
fooled
he's
by it.
offering them money. Like, this is like a sale. So I'm like, oh man, think of how well they could have done if Mrs. Weasley didn't stop them from bringing all of their wares to this place. They could be salesmen. They would crush it. So
Like,
yeah,
he
they're
was
going to be
offering
great
5
businessmen.
galleons for a wand like that.
Yeah,
That's insane.
5
The
galleons?
twins only have like 30 galleons or whatever they have.
Right.
It's insane. They
Their
could
net
become
worth is about to
so
shoot through
rich.
the roof on this. Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. Sorry, a few more things that I
Yes.
wrote. It said that they organized port keys across 5 continents. And I was just curious then which ones were left out.
Huh.
Antarctica? Sure. But then what? Like, who was not attending? Or maybe port keys weren't needed for one of the other countries or continents.
That's interesting. That's an interesting idea.
But it seemed odd that it was 5.
Maybe there's no wizards in Australia.
Could be. Or they boycott the games. You know, they're against it for some reason. There's probably some wizard drama we don't know about yet. Different Ministry of Magic things, embargoes. You know, because this same page that we learn about that, we learn that carpets are defined as Muggle artifacts by the Registry of Prescribed Charmable Objects. That's a bunch of garbage. That's Big Broom lobbying to get that kind of stuff put in there, because what is a broom? It is obviously also a Muggle artifact.
Yeah,
but
that was
somehow brooms are listed on the
this is just all laws
the
in
registry.
general. There are some
Yeah.
laws that are just stupid because yeah,
It's to
that's
keep
a
carpets
ridiculous
out
one.
and get the brooms
Yeah.
in. Makes no sense.
Yep.
They're putting charms on all sorts of human objects.
Would you rather ride a broom or a carpet?
Carpet. I feel
Carpet
like that's
just-
more comfortable.
yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
More practical? What if
Yeah.
it's raining? You're going to pull up the back over your head a little bit.
That's such a good point.
Oh, come on. You have a wand. You can like make a little umbrella.
That's probably definitely true. Yeah, like there must be a cool little charm for that or spell.
I mean, Hagrid's doing magic out of his umbrella wand. So that's an interesting question. I'm gonna ask some subredditors about the 5 continents. Which continent is being left off? Some people are commenting. They say we all know it's Africa, but
We know that there are people from Africa there
yeah,
because they
Africa
saw
has
3
a
of them with
huge
purple
school.
fire.
yeah,
But maybe they didn't use a port key.
true. Maybe they have a different mode of transportation.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the continents just has a different mode of transportation.
Yeah.
We'll just say that.
And like we had mentioned before, the public schools, whatever, I was just wondering, it hasn't come up yet, but is there tuition for Hogwarts? Because it's never mentioned, but it feels like there would be. It gives all the vibes of like a very expensive private boarding school. But we haven't heard anything about the money. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, but they're asked to come to Hogwarts. It's not like the kids are choosing to go there. Like,
Well, ultimately they choose, but I feel like that's like similar enough to like applying for colleges. You know, we have to beg to get in, and then they
We
say,
pay a
"Oh,
ton of money."
fine, we'll let you pay us $250,000 to come over here." Although speaking of Ivy Leagues and $250,000 tuition, maybe there's just a gigantic Hogwarts endowment.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So,
saying.
Yeah, in the wizard world, anything's possible.
There's some filthy rich wizards. you
And
know.
is the gold the leprechaun's drop real? I don't know. I don't think so.
Ron thought so.
A lot of people did,
Yeah.
I guess. But it's just,
'Cause
how
then-
could it be?
That was when he said to Harry, "Okay, you can get me a Christmas gift now."
Right.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, that's bribery. The team is just like throwing money around.
Also, there needs to be some kind of magical thing. Like you're just spewing it out. A gold coin thrown at a very fast speed like that would kill. That would hurt so bad. All these people have welts over their body, dropping them from the top of the stadium down on all these people. It's like, that's painful.
Oh, yeah.
that's what the nosebleed section gets.
Yeah.
Nice,
That's
Jen.
literally me. Yeah. Your nosebleeds, black eyes. All right. Chapter 8. Give me a summary of this one. The Quidditch World Cup.
That sums it up.
The Quidditch World Cup.
Okay. there you
Ireland
go.
won. Bulgaria got the snitch.
Yeah, there you go. Did you guys like this chapter?
I did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Jen, you didn't like it because you sent a text and you were
It's
like,
okay.
blah, blah, blah. Boring.
I don't know.
You just don't like Quidditch chapters.
Maybe.
Hmm.
I just don't get all the details in these matches. I'd rather skip the details of the match and get to details of detective work.
So did
Yeah.
you really love the next chapter, chapter 9, with all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really...
Because I re-listened to it over and over again, and then I was like trying to. But honestly, if you ask me now, I probably forgot it.
No, all these questions are going to spark your memory, so you'll be good. Some quick questions about this Quidditch World Cup one. These we'll go through these quick so we can get to chapter 9 and 10. So there's one line that Winky says, "Ah, sir," said Winky, shaking your head. "Ah, sir, meaning no disrespect, sir, but I is not sure you did Dobby a favor, sir, when you was setting him free." What do you think of house elves, and should they be set free or be paid for their work?
They should be paid.
Yeah.
Then they're servants versus slaves, right? If
Yeah.
you're paid,
Mhm.
is that the? and then set free. But then what can they do free? That's why I thought it was really cute that Dobby's like, oh, I'm going to go into the Ministry of Magic, right? He wanted to like a job there. I was like, yeah, you do that.
Yeah.
You go try.
I guess
and
I
get your life
still
for
don't.
yourself.
I still don't know. I really can't tell. Like, I think my instinct is, yeah, they should be paid, and they can do whatever they want and be autonomous like beings. But I'm just curious about the whole dynamic and why Winky like doesn't want to be free.
She doesn't know anything else.
I was going to say that's all she knows, right?
I guess, but it feels like more than that. It's like not only is freedom not what she wants, or she's like, I can't believe Dobby's doing that. Freedom was a threat at the end. Like,
she's scared. That's
Yeah.
all she
Yeah.
knows.
you think that's it? Just she's scared?
Yeah.
She literally doesn't
Oh
know.
man,
anything
I don't know. It
else,
feels
and
like more
she's
than
not-
that to me. Where I'm like,
what?
well, I don't know what it would be, but it just feels like more than just scared of the unknown, but like also maybe genuinely not being able to be out on her own.
Because she's never done it.
Yeah,
Well,
like, I
certainly,
think
yeah,
there's
certainly
never
that. But I just
been-
mean, is she capable of it? We haven't seen very much, and I'm curious to know how she got in this whole situation. It feels like she needs some guardianship. It feels like she's like a child or something.
That's what I'm saying. She's like
Yeah.
permanently like a little girl's like age, I feel
Hmm.
like. And then she had probably no upbringing with some kind of parent. So if you're stuck as like a child's mindset, that's all you know.
Never needs to be
I
independent.
never want to go anywhere. I get everything that I need here. I just
Yeah.
do what I'm told.
Yeah, and it seems like
and-
they're never encouraged to move past that.
yeah,
you know, like-
Yeah, that
what
makes
would
sense.
Because of
and-
how they're perceived. Sorry.
Huh. I'm just curious. Do they have? Well, they must have parents,
like,
I
who's
guess.
their role model? I don't know. Are they snatched away from
What
them?
made Dobby want to be independent?
Do they have to? Do the masters have to train them? Potty train them? Like that's
They
what
would never.
Were they always that age? Like they're born
Hmm.
an adult? Where did they
There's,
come
I
from?
mean, this is going to be a bleak example too, but it's like the child soldiers that people have, that countries have, where you can kind of just reprogram a kid's mind
Hmm.
in terrifying ways to be able to do whatever you want them to do.
Munchausen syndrome, is that the other? That's a different thing, right? Where you no.
I've never heard that.
That's
What?
never mind. Just keep going. I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah, check what that is. But I think that's it's just an interesting question for if they know what's good for them, or like, is Dobby just the anomaly where he's just one who is
Oh, yeah.
breathing freedom,
Right.
or is he the one that is the path, whatever that's called, the trailblazer?
Yeah.
Like,
And
is he
that's what I
leading the
don't know.
path? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most of the other, like at least Winky for sure, like Dobby almost seems well known in the house elf world for being not good,
Hmm.
according to Winky at least.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And it feels weird that people we like the Weasleys, are not at all bothered by house elves. The whole dynamic, you know, they're like, oh yeah, we could never afford one. I think they said that in the first or in the second book. And I'm like, afford one? You buy them from who? These are slaves? That's so weird.
Yeah.
Or they just come with the house or whatever. How long do they live? We don't know. And then Hermione, who isn't used to them, is just immediately is like, this is wrong. So I think that's cool too. But I feel like I want to learn a little more about it. Maybe just because I don't like Winky at the moment. I think she was manipulated, but she also could be bad. So
what do you also think of just the wizarding world in general and their relationship to house elves?
So I think that's the perspective I'm thinking. So you're specific to Winky, is what you're talking about? You think
maybe
she's
only
bad.
because we only know two house elves and they seem very opposite in some ways. I'm not
Right,
saying she's
right.
bad, but I'm just like, it feels like she's been doing what she was told for a long time. And the first time we see her not doing what she's supposed to, a lot of bad stuff happens. And I'm like, either Mr. Crouch knows this and he's bad, or he's got a rebellious house elf that doesn't want to be free but wants to like terrorize a whole community. Like if she was the one who sent up the signal, blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm just not like convinced on it yet. Like I feel bad for her. She was scared of heights up in the box.
What
I
other
was
things
like,
did
oh
she do
no.
that was bad?
Maybe stole Harry's wand. and cast a giant Voldemort symbol in the sky.
Yeah, but I don't buy that.
I'm not saying I do either.
They specifically said that like she was running weirdly, and like when they were all like leaving.
Like she
the
was
tents.
dragging an invisible person behind her, but it was such a weird thing.
So to me, I feel like there was some.
It was suspicious. Yeah.
Harry does make an explanation for that. That's probably how Dobby would run too if he was disobeying his master's command. So maybe Bagman's not the wrong one. Maybe Crouch is the wrong one. And we'll get to this in chapter 9 because we're not there yet. Maybe Crouch is the wrong one. Crouch commanded her to do something else, and she's like having such a fight tendency that she can't even go do something. She's like disobeying her master's order, you know?
And I also,
like
again, I don't know enough
spell.
about these house elves or like what they do and why they do it, but I feel like if there are rules for what they do for their masters and their master's family, there's like a code that they abide by. And I feel like that code would go beyond what we've seen. Like, I'm thinking there are things they can't do. Like, they don't just blindly do whatever their master says. I feel like this code might prevent them from killing people or doing certain things. Not from anything we've seen, but I feel like there are like guidelines. There's a code they live by. We don't know what it is, that keeps them all in line. Social pressures. I don't know. So that's why I need to know more. What fuels them?
And then Harry says this about house elves. We'll keep talking about house elves as we go, because their story doesn't end here, obviously. But there's another point that Harry mentions, which is a funny description of Mrs. Malfoy. She would have been nice looking if she hadn't been wearing a look that suggested there was a nasty smell under her nose. I just really like the description. And then the whole game commences. What do you guys think of Vila and leprechauns?
Yeah, it was weird.
And then
The Vilas are very distracting.
Yeah, I just pictured them as sirens.
Yep.
What do you mean?
They were like from, is that Greek mythology?
No, I don't know what a
Or
siren
something?
is.
You don't know what a siren is?
No.
It's women that like seduce men.
Really?
Yeah. That was exactly what they were.
But aren't
'Cause
they
all
all
the men
evil?
went dumb. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, you guys don't know? You
No,
don't know?
I do. Yeah, but
Oh.
only like a vague reference. I feel like they're in shows that I don't watch, but like I
But, like, I
hear
feel
them
like I've never
referenced
watched
in
them. Why do I-
mythology or whatever.
I mean, I don't know
I don't know
Greek mythology
what exactly
that well.
it
I don't
is.
know what I know this from. It's from, okay.
Don't they have
I don't know
like
my
the
Greek
same
mythology
thing?
too
like
well.
Their teeth, like they turn.
Yeah, they're
into,
ugly.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, like
But
when you
they
get
don't
close,
appear ugly.
they're,
Yeah.
do they sing or whatever? They like lure, with their voices,
Yep.
they lure the men in, and then they kill them.
Yep.
Gosh, it's terrifying. That's what
So
Vila
this
are
is
pretty
what
much
I was
doing.
picturing.
I mean,
Not that they're killing.
They're
men,
getting
but,
ready
like,
to jump over the ledge and go check out the Vila.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, this feels like dangerous. Is this bad? I thought bad things were going down right then. I'm like, they just cast a spell on everyone and all the people are going nuts. And then I was like, Mr. Weasley's not freaking out. And some people are totally chill. Like, this is normal. Okay. All right. I guess we're just going to pretend like nothing weird happened.
On Mr. Weasley, though, I thought that was interesting.
He's
Yeah.
in a solid relationship. Respect, Mr. Weasley.
Yeah.
Can't be swayed by
very
these.
true. Did that earn him another point back?
Yeah,
It
that
did.
does.
It definitely did. Yep.
Or did you
Just
not
devotion
catch
to
that?
Molly. What do you think the American mascot would be? If America was in the Quidditch World Cup, what would our mascot be?
Do we have magical creatures? Because I guess it has to be
It would
magical.
be the bald eagles.
No, but it has to be magical, though.
Magical
Well,
version of a
magical
bald eagle.
bird. I don't know.
Oh, I saw a bald eagle today. It was cool.
What? No way.
What
Yeah.
about the?
The griffin, right?
Is that an American thing?
Oh,
Because that's an
I was
eagle.
just thinking
That's
it's
an
an
eagle
eagle.
head, right?
It's the
Thunderbird?
eagle head,
Yeah.
right?
That could be from
We
America.
could have a bunch of thunderbirds, like causing a storm. I feel like that's kind of American.
Oh, that would be
keep
pretty
thinking
cool.
of the planes, the Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
They're a cool mascot. They fly very interesting.
We probably would have the planes fly over too. That's like the American thing. We would have all the the military jets
And the
flying over the Quidditch
fireworks.
World Cup stadium. What do you guys think of Victor Crumb?
I don't know what to think about him yet. I kind of like him by default. Everyone seems to like him. He's cool. He's good at his sport, but he seems a little awkward when he's not doing it, which is also great. I love that.
He came across as selfish to me.
Oh, really? Nice.
He was
Explain.
he was not a team player.
Ooh.
What do you mean? Why?
They lost. He just wanted to catch the snitch for himself. Get the glory. He got the
That's
snitch.
an interesting
And then his team
interpretation
lost.
of that.
Oh, really? I thought that
I
was
do think
given.
that was a terrible strategy. I was mad at him. It made no sense.
That they were never going to catch up, and he's like, oh, let's just end this before.
To me, when I read it
more
initially,
embarrassing.
I'm thinking of Harry's perspective too.
Yeah.
Like even before, I remember reading this chapter for the first time and thinking of what was going on, and I was like, Ireland were flattening them. They had literally no chance of coming back. Victor Krum was doing a mercy on the Bulgarian team. He was doing it so when they look back on this 20 years down the line, oh, they only lost by 10 points. What a bummer.
It was only 10 though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that makes no sense to me. Losing by 10, one single goal. What I was also wondering is, can the Seeker play offense and try and just score for a little bit? I'm picturing hockey, like you
Power
pull the
play.
goalie a little and then like they're down. They're like,
Right.
look, we have no chance. So you know what? Who's the guy, the goalie? They don't call it a goalie. What's the name in Quidditch?
Keeper.
The keeper. Yeah, the keeper and the Seeker should both lose their positions and then just go full on, try and get 2 goals real quick. They're vulnerable, obviously, but they would have the extra manpower. And then as soon as they get those goals, he can go back to getting the snitch.
Since there's no time limit, I felt like the game was too close.
Way
just
too
be
close.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Call
get
it at 20. No, too early. 30? 50
then-
points, okay. Everyone's getting tired, whatever. But that
because
felt
they've gone
too
on
early.
for days.
And the
months?
Seeker,
Yeah,
Seeker has
months.
crashed twice. The Irish Seeker was in bad shape.
Yeah.
I feel like he was destroying
great
that
point.
Seeker.
He just
should
ended the game.
Yep.
On his terms, and I didn't like that. That's not a team player.
Yeah.
I was annoyed at him. It didn't make any sense, but I was happy for Fred and George, so I didn't really mind.
Well, true. I know.
But
Ireland is my team.
it didn't
too.
make sense. It did not make sense from like a strategic perspective.
Here's my
but-
perspective.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
this. And like the Golden State Warriors, we're gonna talk sports for a second. The Golden State Warriors, I think, are one of the greatest sports dynasties.
What
It's like
sport is that?
basketball.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. That says
Like-
a lot.
Let me know.
They had 3 of probably the best shooters to me in the last 20 years. Steph Curry is probably the greatest shooter of all time. Klay Thompson, probably 3rd best shooter of all time. And Kevin Durant, just maybe top 10 shooter of all time. Unbelievable shooters on their team. No one is coming back and beating this team in certain games. Like there's a point where those 3, it's like the Irish 3 Seekers. You can't stop these 3 Irish Seekers. They're such in sync that it does not matter if this game went on for months. The gap would be 1,000 points. I'm like, the gap is just expanding and expanding. I know it's 10 points, but Victor Krum, he might not be a team player because he catches it, but he knows his team so well that he knows they're not going to catch up. And he just catches it at one moment to give his team some kind of dignity so they don't lose by 1,000 points. And when this is in the history books, they don't look back on this game saying, oh my gosh, Bulgaria is terrible. How did they even get on the Quidditch World Cup? Because
They couldn't be that terrible. They got to the World Cup.
I know, but there's tons of teams that have gotten to like the normal World Cup, the soccer World Cup, that I'm like, they shouldn't have got there because they lost. Like there's an example, and this is going to be an interesting one in history where Germany flattened Brazil a few years ago in the World Cup semifinal, not the final. And there's people right now saying like Brazil shouldn't have even made it to that far. They weren't even that good, but they were a phenomenal team. Germany just played lights out. It was just one of those rare occurrences where like everything hit for Germany and nothing hit for Brazil. So it's like in 20 years, people are going to look back on that game being like, Brazil didn't deserve it. Maybe, I don't know. I feel the same is true for this. In 20 years' time, they're going to look back and be like, Bulgaria, they were so close. Like, to me, this is still, maybe this is going extreme, but the Quidditch World Cup is happening every 4 years, like the soccer World Cup. He's giving Bulgarians hope that they can possibly win in another year. Because if it's so far, the team is going to like be demoralized. They're going to be like, we can't compete with Ireland at all. But if he catches it right now, he's like, guys, we only lost by 10 points. Maybe his team is going to be mad at him. I can't believe I'm going on this long rant about this.
I was
don't
going
like
to say,
defending
we
this
can
guy.
agree to disagree.
Yeah.
No, it kind of makes sense.
How about my view, guys?
Yeah, Jen,
Go for it.
Tell us your view. Yeah,
Let's
of
hear it, Jen.
course.
Sorry.
I don't have one.
Ditto.
No, I guess my whole thing was that the Seeker, right? Lynch was going to get it first. So then they literally
Great
will
point.
not have had any points. So then Krum was like, well, if he's going to catch it, I'm going to get it first. So at least we get on the board.
Yeah, That's such a good point.
Because you
I didn't even
can't
think of that.
stop them
Yeah.
from getting the snitch. You just have to get it first.
Like Crumb is better than Lynch, but Lynch is still a world-class seeker.
Yeah.
He's gonna get it. So unless
would be
like
embarrassing.
Yeah, I know. Unless you can't. I wonder how
What do you
much
do?
physical contact is
Can
allowed.
you? How can you defend against getting the? I
Yeah.
just knock him off. But he did that, right? Like
I mean, Malfoy tried that when he jumped on Harry's broom. Like maybe Victor Crumb jumps on his broom and tries to distract him from getting the it probably should be. I mean, Hooch was up in arms about that when she was having her moment over there. But
anyway, that was it. You can continue.
would you guys have wanted to go to this game?
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Would have been awesome.
Yeah.
As long as I have to go 2 weeks early, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah.
The
You
poor
gotta go
people.
2 weeks early if you got the cheap tickets.
Yeah. Camping out for 2 weeks for that game.
Yikes.
There is something magical about camping out for something like that, though.
So
I was
you
gonna
would
say,
love
hey,
it.
we
I
go.
would love
We
that.
make it a trip.
Yeah.
All
That'd
of us
be awesome.
You go with your friends. Yeah, all of us go to
Get
the
our
Quiz World
tents that
Cup.
expand
Their
in the
camping is the same, so.
Yeah, it's glamping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, some things are fun, worth waiting for. I have to say, when this is a short little story. When COVID, like all the restrictions lifted, I was in the middle of not having gotten my license. I needed to get my license renewed, and I couldn't do it online because I was traveling and I needed to rent a car. So I needed to do it in a week, and I couldn't do it online fast enough because they would send it in a month. And so I went to the DMV, and I drove there. I'm like, oh, it's going to be annoying. I'll probably have to wait 2-3 hours to go there. I walked in the DMV, and people started laughing at me, and they said, walk around to the back of the building. There was, I'm not joking, they said 750 to 800 people still in line. It was at the end of the day. And they said in the morning, there was probably close to 2,000 people waiting to see if they can get, they said they only accepted 200. They said, we can only service 200 people. So they told me, they said, what you can do is you can wait all night for that. And I had to get my license. There was nothing else that I can do. So I drove home, got some stuff, got some food in me, tried to take a quick like hour-long nap, and went back at 9 p.m., took a tent. I was 100th in line. I was the 100th person in line at 9 p.m. And I had to wait in my tent, sitting there around this whole entire building in this dark little alley outside of this building. I waited there and I slept. I did like 2 hours of sleeping. I just kind of like read. I did some other stuff. And I honestly think I brought Harry Potter with me. I'm not gonna lie. I think that was in one of my readings, and I think I brought. Honestly, I think I brought like Goblet of Fire. I have weird memories of that. But I got my license at like 11 after I had to wait in line all that time. It was miserable.
I remember
that was not
stories
fun
like
waiting
that.
for.
Oh.
But there are some things worth waiting for that are more fun. The DMV is not one of those things.
Yikes.
Oh, that was awful. Okay. Anything else in this chapter? Anything else in chapter 8?
I would love to have those omnioculus. I don't know
Yeah,
how you
that'd be
say
I
cool.
feel like those might stick around in this book.
Yeah.
Oh, Bagman made me laugh. I wrote down this quote. Now, we can't have that, said Bagman. Somebody slapped the referee.
yeah.
That
Just
was funny to me.
He's flexing and putting his little mustache or something like that at the Vila. That was great. He'd be a great commentator.
Oh, and here's another one by Mr. Weasley. And that, boys, is why you should never go for looks alone.
Yeah, a great line. Mr. Weasley. He's gaining points back.
Yeah.
He's
Danny.
gaining some
For
back, for
everyone
sure.
but Danny.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, wait. The end. Was it the end? Sorry.
You're
The
good?
Bulgarian minister was really funny to me, faking that he couldn't speak English.
Yeah.
So that fudge.
Yeah, that was funny.
Mime.
That was so good.
I just don't like that Harry was up in that spot, especially at the end where all of the omnioculars were up on that exact spot. It felt like too much attention on Harry, and that's when I started being extra suspicious of those seats because it was all eyes on him, and there are just too many bad characters around.
Yeah.
But you also know Lucius Malfoy went to the seating thing. So how do you know that he didn't take Harry Potter's wand then?
He definitely could have. That is a very viable thing. Anyone in that box could have easily.
Yeah.
But in a tent city like that, I feel like could have happened a lot of different ways, and Harry legit thought he dropped it.
I
And
I don't
as
know
we've
why
learned,
he
Harry's
said
a little
that.
careless
He
with
literally
his stuff.
should have said he lied.
Right. He should say he doesn't
said,
know.
I don't know.
But saying
how I
he
lost my
dropped it,
wand.
like, you don't know what happened. It was
And
on
that's
you.
why
No, you
I
don't.
just believed him. I didn't even think anything outside that.
Oh,
Because he doesn't
was so
remember
annoyed
dropping
by
it. He
that
just knows he doesn't
comment.
have it.
Because loss is your fault.
This is the next chapter, guys. What happens? Give me a summary of
that's
chapter
right.
9 because we're talking about it.
Oh,
What
yeah, that's how I
happens
felt about the Quidditch one.
in chapter 9?
Skip it. But you guys skipped
Wow, this
over
was a
me
long
too,
chapter.
so it
This was a
works.
really long chapter, and this is so dense. There was so
I didn't
much
read
in
a
it.
summary.
Yeah, there was a lot. You didn't have one?
No, because I was trying to
Did you
finish
wanna go,
chapter
Jen?
10 before coming here.
I feel like you do a good
The
job with
dark mark.
summaries.
It's like when, they're all going to bed. They're like so happy about the World Cup, and then they start hearing these noises. Mr. Weasley's like, oh, I'm glad I'm not in charge tonight, the Ministry of Magic, because they're all drunk and stuff. And they thought at first
Yeah.
it was just celebrating, and then they come out and they see Muggles floating. And then as time goes on, it goes into like someone conjured a dark mark, the skeleton with the snake coming out of its mouth, right? And then it just goes on from there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything specific you wanted me to add, but
No, that's perfect. This is so this is how the chapter kind of opens. It says, "Get up, Ron, Harry, come on now, get up. This is urgent." Harry sat up quickly, and the top of his head hit the canvas. "Smatter," he said dimly. He could tell something was wrong. The noises in the campsite had changed. The singing had stopped. He could hear screams and the sound of people running. It's a pretty terrifying opening to this chapter. Have you ever been, this may be a weird question, but have you ever been in a riot or a really scary situation like this?
only the one I already shared about when I was like,
Yeah.
in the middle of
In the train?
when we
The
got
subway?
dropped off in the middle of the night.
Oh, that's right.
And then this guy was coming towards us, a homeless guy, I think, looking like he was going to do something bad. And there was no one around. So, yeah, your heart drops and you're like, what do I do?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I think the scary part of reading it is the crowd growing beyond like what you can control.
Yeah.
And it feels like a weird momentum, and you're like, I don't know, like it just feels unsettling because like it grows too quickly. I'm thinking of this time in Australia. I was at this party with a bunch of high schoolers. I didn't know they were high schoolers, but then they mentioned it at some point, and I was like, oh, this is like weird. Too many of these people are, you can drink at 18 there. They were all 18, whatever. But they mentioned how they liked getting in fights with tourists, and they were all like swapping stories about like knocking out some Italian guy on the beach and this and that. And I'm just like, I'm a tourist, and so are the three people with me. I'm
what
like,
the heck?
huh. And then at some point in the night, I accidentally drank someone's like Jack Daniels or whatever it was, some kind of like bourbon or whiskey. And I didn't realize it was someone else's, because when I go to a party, I assume all the drinks are for everyone. But apparently their alcohol is so expensive, whatever. They were very possessive. So the kid grabs my shirt and he's like threatening to punch me. He's got his fist back and he's like, he's shirtless and he's drunk. And then this girl who was with me, she like starts instigating this and like yelling at him and like, you won't do anything. You don't know anything. We can drink this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, stop this, stop this. And you like feel a tension growing. And then one of his friends saw that he was like a little too drunk. And he's like, dude, don't do that. Don't do that. And he like tries to stop him. He pushes him away. He said, no, dude, really, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And the kid had his arm all the way back, just turns, socks his own friend in the face.
Oh my
My
gosh.
goodness.
And then just like that, the entire party just broke into a gigantic fight. It was like something out of a movie. Like, because then that kid's girlfriend got mad, jumps on the other kid, and then
Oh my
her girlfriend
goodness.
jumps on some other kid, and they're swinging around, and like everyone's going nuts. Tables are breaking. There's this whole like line of laundry and like flapping sheets, and people are just running through it. Shirts are ripping, blood's everywhere.
Literally
And-
sounds like a movie.
And so then I just grabbed this girl and my friend David, and we just start like running through this crowd of people with like, it did feel like a movie because everyone's just like, the escalation of crazy, you know, like it felt like once one thing goes wrong, other people get involved, more things go wrong. Some people they didn't care, but they just love fighting, so they jump in. So it just feels like the momentum of the night shifted, and there was no coming back from that. I'm like, we just got to get out of here.
Gosh.
And so we did, you know?
Wow.
We ran into the dark woods like Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
That's crazy.
I knew you'd have a crazy story like that. Like, I don't think.
All mine are sports related, which is kind of similar to the Quidditch World Cup. I've gotten a few tips at like practices with people. And there was just one where this was the stupidest one. It happens in the stupidest situations. But once I was a referee for an intramural game, an intramural soccer, and it happened in an intramural soccer game.
Whoa.
Some guy got really, really mad, and he just started a fist fight with someone, and I had to come break it up, and it literally became where both teams were fist fighting each other over just this one kid being really aggressive with other people.
Oh my goodness.
And it was like I got punched in like in the chin, like right on the chin cheek right here.
Ow.
He was just going off on people, and I was like, dude.
Intramural.
Yeah, intramurals. It was ridiculous. I was like, you guys are fighting over the most pointless thing in the entire world, intramural soccer. Come on.
They were angry at something.
I know.
Wow.
Seriously.
That is.
I know. Living their dreams over there. Okay. In this chapter, there's a bunch of masked people, and they're raising people off the ground or making them float. They're terrifying. What do you think of these masked people? These, what we know as, they're called Death Eaters.
I thought of them as being more intense at first. I thought they were creatures, like Dementors, and I was like, whoa. And then as soon as I like figured out they were people, it felt a little more manageable, but still just super creepy because they can be anonymous with masks. So not cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of terror behind like the anonymity of this too. I think it's equally, I don't know, there's just different levels of terrifying. Like if you know the person doing it and you can see their face, it's terrifying if you know they're a scary person. But if they're wearing masks over it, it's almost like the KKK kind of thing.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So weird. Voldemort's got his green light going on again, bursts of strong green light. So again, like that to me feels authentically Voldemort. This is not something else. Yeah. And I don't even know what that really means, but I feel like there's something to it. But I felt like there were inconsistencies in the danger. Is this a crowd of people? Is this just like a little more rowdy than you want outside of your tent? Or was there actual fear? Like Mr. Weasley is like, I got to go off and do this stuff. Guys, get out of here. Rest of you guys stick together and go into the woods or whatever. It felt like it kind of went back and forth in my mind, at least, whether they were actually in danger. Like is this crowd after Hermione? Or was that just like a vague idea? And then Malfoy said it. And I was like, I don't know. I couldn't tell if they were actually in danger or if this is like drunk people just being too rowdy. Like then I thought, how many wizards are actually down with this kind of muggle treatment? And would this be considered normal to people? Play with some muggles, do a memory spell, put them back where you found them? Like, is that the kind of thing wizards do on a drunk night out? I was like, is this normal at all? Or is this like they have crossed a major line? It's time to jump into action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. It felt like there were moments where it was like terrifying and other moments where it was like, all right, no big deal, but just like, you know, chill over there. Let's just move along. How did you read it?
What?
Like, were you scared at this part? Did you fear for anyone's safety?
No, I didn't. I thought it was similar to you as well.
Like scary in a sense, but not necessarily dangerous.
It was like they're too drunk and just messing around with people that are in the area,
Hmm.
kind of thing.
We'll put a timeout here too. You can watch this in the live stream, but are you guys good with keeping to go do a 9 and 10, or do you want to break here and we can come back and do this another time?
After I see
You're like, well, I'm not paying attention.
I'm okay.
Jen?
I'm just not really myself, but it's fine.
Because I'm good, but also we have availability, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can find time.
It's fine. Just keep going.
Okay, coming back. There's good lines in this too. There's one: the colored lanterns that had lit the path to the stadium had been extinguished. Dark figures were blundering through the trees. Children were crying, anxious shouts and panicked voices were reverberating around them in the cold night air. Harry felt himself being pushed hither and thither by people whose faces he could not see. Then he heard Ron yell with pain. So they go and they actually meet Malfoy here too.
What are the chances?
Yeah.
100,000 people are here and they run into Malfoy. Goodness gracious.
Naturally.
Do you think that his dad could be among the people that have the masks on?
Honestly, I don't think so. It wouldn't make sense. He's capable of it, though. He could have orchestrated the whole thing. But the actual running around in the drunk crowd doing spells, that'd be sloppy work if it was him. Unless he was absolutely sure he had some kind of out. I feel like he learned his lesson with almost getting caught the first time Voldemort was rising to power. And now he's kind of, if he's going to do anything, he's going to do it cautiously. He's going to orchestrate things behind the scenes, pull his strings, do his thing. But I can't picture him actually being out there in the mask. And if he was, and it was actually risky, there's no way he would trust his son with this information because his son's got a big mouth.
Yeah, his son is just a tell-all.
Yeah, and he kind of knows it too
Yeah.
because he's kept him in the dark about other things.
Yeah. How do you what do you think about the whole situation of them running into Draco in the woods? Do you think he is orchestrating some of this?
Who, Draco or
Yeah,
Lucius?
Draco.
Maybe. He was so calm and comfortable, which just feels weird. Like, even if he knew it was happening, it just felt odd that he was so okay with the chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, I want there to be hope for him. But then seeing this, I'm like, oh man, I think he's too far gone.
Yeah.
He like enjoys this. He was just comfortable with chaos. It's too much. But maybe he does have a little role to play. Maybe his dad gave him some instructions. I'm going to do this. Other things are going to happen. You're going to see some chaos, and here's how you could help.
What are just your general thoughts on Lucius Malfoy too? He's probably not an upstanding guy, but like
Probably not.
he might be. You never know. With JK's rallying or with her writing, he could be like a great character in disguise. I don't know. You
True.
never
I mean,
know.
I'm just thinking what we have so far.
Yeah, for sure. From what
We
we have,
do not have much redeemable from
probably
him.
not the most upstanding person. But do you think he is legitimately a dark person, or do you think he's just faking it?
It feels like he has nothing to gain from faking it now, unless he knew Voldemort was coming back all along, unless he was using it for some kind of power thing. But he is giving me darker vibes for sure. I feel like he's actually evil. Yep. Malfoy learned this from somebody. And I'm assuming it's his father.
Jen, do you think Lucius is evil or no?
Yeah, I think from the beginning, even like when he was in the what was like the dark alley,
Nocturne Alley.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. It just seems sketchy there.
He almost got Ginny killed.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and
He's doing dark stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he could be one of them. He could have been one of the hooded people too.
He definitely could have been. I feel like I just don't know him well enough yet.
So all this sorts of stuff happen. They meet people who are from a different magical school. And then all of a sudden this dark mark goes up, or not quite yet. They see this, a rustling noise nearby. We were talking about this before. A rustling noise nearby made all three of them jump. Winky, the house elf, was fighting her way out of a clump of bushes nearby. She was moving in a most peculiar fashion, apparently with great difficulty. It was as though someone invisible were trying to hold her back. So here's a weird question. Do you think that Harry is right, that she is just disobeying her or her master? Or do you think that maybe she's cursed and that's why she's walking like that? Like, do you think maybe Ludo Bagman is cursing her in this instance? And then Winky casts the dark mark up in a weird way because, like, almost going against her own will. Like, she's trying to fight.
Oh, like someone was controlling her to do it?
Yeah. Do you think a wizard could actually do that, has a capability to do something like that?
That's what I thought.
I mean, that
Really?
sounds dark.
I thought that because she was walking weird and they noticed it, and then she keeps saying like, "I didn't do that," and then she made a comment about like there are dark wizards here or something to Harry, like before. I forget if that was this chapter or before. I think it was this one. I don't know. I guess I feel bad for her, so it makes me think that she was just being used
That's sad.
as a cover-up.
There's a lot of like really sad and sick things that happen in this chapter too, like the Muggles being floated over air, like Winky, whatever's happening with Winky, it just doesn't seem right. It's really kind of sad.
That's the same one when Crouch comes, right? Or is that going to the next chapter?
Yeah. No, this is the same chapter. This is a really long, bulky chapter.
Because I feel so bad for her at the end too, and he's like, "I'll take care of you," and she's like begging him.
Yeah.
And if you listen to it on the audiobook, it's really sad.
Yeah,
Is
for
it?
sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a real sadness to it where when she's begging for the sock at the end, or when she doesn't want to get the sock, she's like, or the clothes.
No clothes.
She's like, "No, not clothes." And she's like devastated at that.
Yeah, because she wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, I know.
Dobby at least could make do with. He was excited. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't hear her. I didn't read the part about her being walking weird as her being controlled to go somewhere. I read it more like she was being kept somewhere and resisting it. Like someone froze her in place and she was fighting against it, or like she had to stay in the tent. There were like things in place, maybe spells or charms that would have worked on a person, but she was able to resist because they've got this weird house elf magic ability. But I still don't know how it plays out. That's the missing piece here. But I still don't know if I can trust her.
Yeah.
I feel bad for her, obviously. And I think we're supposed to at this point for a million reasons. But that doesn't mean she's innocent.
Yeah, for sure.
Was that this chapter? Because was she told to stay in the tent?
Yes. He said that at the end. He said, you were specifically told to stay in the tent.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So like that would line up with what Harry was saying. Like if Dobby was doing something he wasn't supposed to. But if that were the case, I don't think it's her fear of heights that's making her do this. There's something more. She's not just going to see this whole crowd of whatever. Also, house elves seem pretty powerful. Like they don't seem scared of other people, but they seem scared of their masters. So I don't buy that she would be scared of heights or being lifted up with the Muggles or a crowd of people that are drunk. There's more to that for sure. But why? I don't know. But I feel like when I was reading some of this, let's see. Oh, Hermione said, mad though to do something like that when the whole Ministry of Magic's out here tonight. And I agree, it is a little mad to do something like this, but that's what makes me think it's all a diversion, because they didn't do anything. They didn't accomplish anything. They scared people. That was it.
Yeah.
They created a lot of like commotion. Sure. They created PR nightmares for weeks or months to come, but I don't think they did anything. I'm thinking from Voldemort's perspective, or from even like Lucius, like the bigger, more powerful people. What did this accomplish? Nothing.
Yeah.
But I think it did accomplish something, but just somewhere else or in a way we don't realize yet.
Yeah. They go on after this too, and they meet a bunch of people talking to Vila. But do you ever think Stan Shunpike would become Minister of Magic? And do you think he would do a better job than Cornelius Fudge of being Minister of Magic?
I feel like at this point, anyone would be better than Cornelius Fudge.
Anybody would do a better job than him right now. What do you think Bagman was doing so deep in the woods? And Danny, you obviously don't trust him, but do you guys trust him? Jen, do you trust him? You don't trust him, Kristen?
Well, you're going to laugh at this. So I wrote, was it supposed to say Bagman? I wrote, was it Batman? Sorry, that was random.
Batman is deep in the woods, lurking there, waiting for.
I guess my phone didn't like Bagman.
Oh, that's great.
Anyway. Jen, what are your thoughts?
Oh, sorry. I was reading something else from the Winky conversation. I missed.
Do you
the
trust
question.
Bagman?
I don't know. I guess he's like a fun character that you're kind of like wanting to like. Trusting is a different thing. He just like didn't he just show up at the end? I was like, what's going on? Was that him?
Yeah.
When like they got after. That's when Winky found the wand, right? And
Yeah.
and he plays like dumb. I don't
Yeah.
know. But he's coming out of nowhere too, like what you were saying. I don't know how I feel about him. He was fun in the game, and he just seems like the cool guy that like everyone likes. And
Yeah.
I want to
kinda
like him.
gets away with everything
Yeah.
because he's got that popularity from the Quidditch team, and
Yeah.
Maybe that's a big byline of this too. Like the popular people aren't people worthy to be trusted or something. You all right, Wes?
He's just yakking on a bone.
I really want it to be Crouch though, because I can't stand him. That is the bad guy.
He's
Yeah,
so
I don't
rigid
like-
and. Ugh.
I can't remember why I wrote, was it Bagman?
Was it Bagman? Like the whole, the mark. What do they call it? The
Dark
thing?
mark.
The dark mark.
Yeah.
So this is the explanation that we have of
Like
it.
who conjured it?
For a split second, Harry thought it was another leprechaun formation. Then he realized that it was a colossal skull comprised of what looked like emerald stars with a serpent protruding from its mouth like a tongue. Excuse me. As they watched, it rose higher and higher, blazing in a haze of greenish smoke, etched against the black sky like a new constellation. Suddenly, the wood all around them erupted with screams. Harry didn't understand why, but the only possible cause was the sudden appearing of the skull, which had now risen high enough to illuminate the entire wood like some grisly neon sign. He scanned the darkness for the person who had conjured the skull, but he couldn't see anyone. What do you guys think of the dark mark? You all right, Wes?
He's like, I'm posing. Dark Mark is freaky.
It is very freaky. And they would do this anytime they killed someone back in the day when Voldemort was rising to power the first time. And that's weird too. It's like, I don't know, tagging your turf. It just feels like a weird, like, is it doing anything? Does it accomplish anything? Does it have like, is it absorbing power? Or is it just a symbol? You know, they could just as easily spray paint a wall. Voldemort was here. So that's why I don't understand if this is doing something or just creating fear. But in my mind now, I'm thinking of it as just being just a symbol, kind of like Voldemort's back.
Yeah.
Look at this. But I also don't know who can conjure it because that seems a little vague too. They're first accusing a bunch of kids, and then they're like, oh, but yeah, kids could never do this. Well, could they or couldn't they? How many people know how to do this? Because now 3 new kids do. They know the words, but maybe there's a lot more to it. But Voldemort and all of his followers knew how to do it. But do people at the Ministry of Magic? Is there a place you can go practice things like this? Like if they wanted to see if it was possible?
Because there's an information download that we get later in this chapter too, which is I think is a really good passage where it says, "I don't get it," said Ron, frowning. "I mean, it's only a shape in the sky," which is what we're saying. "Ron, you know who and his followers sent the dark mark into the air whenever they killed," said Mr. Weasley. "The terror it inspired. You have no idea. You're just too young. Just picture coming home and finding the dark mark hovering over your house and knowing what you're about to find inside." Mr. Weasley winced. Everyone's worst fear, the very worst. There was silence for a moment. Then Bill, removing the sheet from his arm to check his cut, said, "Well, it didn't help us tonight, whoever conjured it. It scared the Death Eaters away the moment they saw it. They all disapparated before we'd got near enough to unmask any of them. We caught the Robertses before they hit the ground, though. They're having their memories modified right now." "Death Eaters?" said Harry. "What are Death Eaters?" "It's what you-know-who supporters call themselves," said Bill. "I think we saw what's left of them tonight. The ones who managed to keep themselves out of Azkaban anyway." So it's like, yeah, it's just a symbol, but it's a terrifying symbol, like
Well,
what you're coming home to.
It must have been accurate enough
Yeah.
that like it conjured that much fear
Yeah.
in people whenever
And
they'd see it.
Did someone die?
That's what I was just thinking.
But then Hermione made a comment too. Is like, were they doing this to make the Death Eaters afraid that like Voldemort is back and that they're not following Voldemort? Like they all pretended, they all denied him, or are they doing it to make people afraid, instill fear in the crowds that Voldemort is back and they have power again?
I think
So that
like
was
Bill said that, right?
No, Hermione said it.
Oh, she said it, but wasn't somebody,
She
Bill or
asked.
Charlie, talking about it? I don't remember. Yeah, if Hermione said it,
You might have it in your notes.
I probably do in the next chapter, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Seems lame. There's no way. Like, that would mean someone from the Ministry of Magic knew how to do it, and in that moment thought to use that weird, like, not reverse psychology, but, you know, like that type of mind game, and they made the decision on their own to make themselves look super guilty, and then just throw this big thing up to, like, possibly create fear in a few of Voldemort's followers. Nah, I don't buy it. Because even if it did create the fear in a few, it would inspire many more. But I also don't fully get why people follow him. Like, what's his thing? Are people really that against Muggles? It's a decent thought by Hermione, but I just can't picture it being real. It feels like too much of a stretch. But if that is true, who would do it? Who is good, would think to do that mind game and cast it up to scare away Voldemort's people? I guess it still could be Crouch
Bagman?
or Bagman. Either one of them could be doing it for good or for evil.
Yeah.
So you said before, do you think Mr. Crouch is actually just really good at his job, or do you think he's actually kind of like mad here? So some of what he is saying and some of the stuff that he's doing, he just seems like almost out of his mind. Even the way he's talking to the other magical wizards and law enforcement people, magical law enforcement here. Is he just really good at his job of like knowing exactly what's happening, or is he just insane? Or did he conjure the dark mark? Is he just trying to cover something up?
It does sound like he's trying to cover something up. Because he's like, what are you thinking, that I had my house elf? Like,
Yeah.
basically saying it that way to cover up that he actually did.
Yeah. Because he goes later, you're accusing the two people who are least likely to do this. And
Yeah.
you're like, wait, Crouch,
Yeah.
Barty, hold on.
Okay.
You got one of them. I don't know if you got the other one, though.
I'm actually surprised they dismissed Harry so quickly as being a potential. Like, if I were them, I'd still be considering Harry for a little bit.
Why?
You know? He stopped Voldemort the first time when he was a baby. He was 1. There could be some evil in him. He's got a wand that matches Voldemort's, and it's the one that literally cast the thing. And the only reason we don't think he did it is because he says he didn't. No, I didn't have my wand. I dropped it. Like, it just, the whole story, like, if I wasn't down with Harry, it'd be a little suspicious.
Yeah, but he literally, like, faced him twice in school and, like, defeated him.
Yeah, it makes him look really good, but how do you defeat him? He's not qualified.
And it also makes
I'm
him
not
look
trying to,
very
like,
powerful.
hate on Harry. I'm just saying, if I was the Ministry of Magic, he would look pretty guilty.
Yeah.
But everyone else was just kind of like, no, obviously it couldn't be him because Voldemort tried to kill him that time. And so, yeah. I'm like, But the Ministry of Magic isn't taking this as seriously as I want them to. Lock down, what's her name? The house elf? Winky, because she was clearly, that's not a fair way to question her as you surround her and whatever. And they missed their best bargaining chip because... Who was it? Was it Diggory who said we can see the last thing that this wand has done?
Priori Incantato.
Right.
That is, save that. That's that's the ace in your sleeve. But he just threw it out there. Like, see what she says before you do that.
Yeah.
And then do that.
Yeah.
But like, he threw it out there too early, and they missed a good opportunity to kind of bluff a little.
It's funny because one of my questions is how do you like Amos Diggory's interrogation style, and you're like, it wasn't very good.
It was sloppy and in front of a lot of people. And in my mind, I'm thinking Bagman's the one who's pressuring her to not give the real answer, and he's right there. So this kind of interrogation should be done in a comfortable setting. Give her some donuts. Let her relax for a little bit.
Good cop, bad cop.
Make sure she's comfortable. Do a little good cop, bad cop. But like to do it in a dark forest with like 20 people with their wands out, like it just felt too much. No non-human creature is permitted to carry or use a wand.
Yeah, what do you think of that? Are wizards right to restrict wand usage?
I'm not into it. Feels like too much.
Yeah.
But I thought you
Who
said
gives
that they
them
could
the
do
right?
spells without it.
But
We have a whole conversation.
the house elves can do
a
spells
while ago,
without it. Yeah. But clearly wands do something to enhance spells, or they wouldn't restrict it.
But they have nothing else in life. They're just house elves.
True. But like this applies to any non-human creature.
Well, yeah.
Quicker cleaning spells. That sounds terrible. But
Non-human creature. Yes, that would be like the centaurs couldn't. And then I guess there'd probably be a gray area for vampires or werewolves.
goblins.
Goblins. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But like, do they even need a wand? Because what do they do?
No,
in
I don't think
life?
they do need one. But it
Like-
definitely makes them more powerful, I'm assuming. It's
Yeah.
the only reason I can think to restrict it. Like, why do you think they restrict the wands?
I mean, like, yeah, why do centaurs not have wands? Because there's beings of, I guess, there's maybe a spectrum of sentience. I don't know. It's like an interesting question even within the Harry Potter universe. Like, for us, like, my dog, who's just sitting right here, probably has less sentience than I do. He's just chewing my shoelaces right now, you know? But in the wizarding world, these things have sentience. Like, where do you place a creature that can walk and talk and think for itself in terms of like where they are on this hierarchy of beings? Wizards are probably obviously at the top, but why do wizards only restrict wand usage for them rather than saying like centaurs are close to it so they can use wands too, but it's only them? So I don't know. It just seems uppity. I don't know. And where did like I think
Where did
that
it even come from?
yeah.
Did something happen?
Yeah.
And then they're like, nope, actually.
That's why history of magic class is so important.
Ooh, there was a big goblin uprising at some point.
Yeah.
And now the Ministry of Magic has a goblin liaison. Maybe that's when goblins were using wands, but they were too powerful.
Maybe.
But now they control the money, right? The goblins run Gringotts.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was
boy.
the deal. You don't get a wand, but you get to control the money.
You get to
Huh.
invest our money, and they're like,
so
deal.
interesting. Also, it feels weird to me that Hermione knows more about Voldemort than Harry.
Yeah.
Like, if there is a book about dark magic, what the rise and fall of dark magic, I don't know if that's what it was.
Be a great
Similar to
title.
that. That Harry should be reading that book.
Yeah.
He should know what Voldemort's sign is. Why not learn everything there is to know about Voldemort? Because you've interacted with him probably more than any other good person, and you live to tell the tale. And he doesn't.
This is one of the things that you think about Harry, though. He's just an idiot because he just doesn't do his own research about this kind of stuff.
I was gonna say I feel like that's not in his character.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hermione's
I feel
like
like he
obviously
wouldn't
it's a dark
think-
mark, right?
Right. I feel like you wouldn't think to read
'Cause-
these books.
Yeah, he literally doesn't even think about
There's
it.
an aspect of cluelessness
right.
to him, too, that we get in these chapters because this seems bizarre to me. And I don't know if I like this character description of him that much, but he is like clueless to a point where he doesn't even think about the possibilities of wizards existing in other parts of the world.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, dude, you didn't know you were a wizard until you were 11 and you became a wizard and you didn't think about the possibilities of the whole entire world existing of magical people that didn't know they were like, dude, you're the perfect person to think
Sharing
of
a room with Ron?
Yeah, seriously.
All-nighter, tell secrets,
I
talk
know.
about life, Ask all the questions.
Yes.
How did that not come up?
I know. That is wild to me. So I think to your point, he's just kind of like, that's not really his character right now. Maybe this is too far. I feel like Hermione just needs to knock some sense into him one of these days. Be like, Harry, you survived the killing curse. The only person in known wizarding existence that survived this thing, and you don't know a thing. You don't know about the dark mark. You don't know about all this kind of stuff. Like, there's a level there where Harry just needs to start doing his own research and just trying to learn this stuff. Read some books, dude. Go on wizarding Google, whatever that is.
They doesn't give him more mental space.
Maybe he what?
Like, he took so much from his parents. Like, why does he want to give it more thought?
Yeah, that's true. So maybe because he saw his parents get murdered, he doesn't want to touch that anymore. But I don't know.
I feel I can sympathize because I've told all of you guys this. The way my mind thinks, I need to be like ripped out of the box.
Yeah.
I have like my own little world, and this is what I know and what I think, and I need other people to like be like, hey, there's like more outside.
Yeah.
That's like my whole life. So I can kind of relate.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
This was the dark mark, but are there other marks? I assume there would be, or they would just call it the mark. So I'm just curious what this would mean compared to good marks or marks that don't mean anything. Artistic marks, fireworks for wizards. I don't know. Yeah, it just feels weird. Marks are mysterious to me. And why wasn't Mr. Crouch at the match? Very suspicious.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense sending your elf up to the match to hold your seat / steal Harry's wand, and then you never show up. Weird. I don't like it.
So both of them are suspicious. Bagman and Crouch are both suspicious, but you just think it's Bagman more, and you just kind of hope it's Crouch.
I don't know if Bagman really ever entered my mind until you were talking about it, because I always saw him as...
Yeah, I also can't picture him doing the actual mark. Like, I feel like he was involved. He was there. It was suspicious. He left all, like, awkward. But I don't think he did the actual conjuring or casting or whatever.
I still thought it was Crouch at some point, but it just seemed so obvious that that's why I'm not fully sold. But, like, he even says... when Diggory went, he's like, oh, give me a few seconds. I'm going to go check to see if there's anyone left, because they were, stunning people with their, like, maybe we got someone. And then he just seemed so surprised. You got someone? Shouted Crouch, sounding highly disbelieving. Who? Who is it? And I guess to me that was, like, kind of guilty. Like, oh, you found, like, who did you? Yeah. You're going to catch. I took it that way, but I guess that's a normal reaction, too.
Because Crouch does that thing where it's kind of freaky too when they pull out Winky and they like learn of what happened with Winky. He goes back into the woods and like searches around. So maybe he's just being a good investigator, but he seems very suspicious here. Like, is he hiding something? What's going on?
Feels like he was grasping on anything. Like, let me find someone else here that we might something to cover this bad look up.
Yeah.
And this does not feel like the right crew to handle what's going on. It feels like these are like the business guys, the Ministry of Magic, like decision makers. But what about that SWAT team that we,
where's the,
real security that can actually do something?
Ors? Are you thinking of that?
No, the people were the CIA people we were talking about.
Those guys. Yeah.
What were they? What were they called?
The Unspeakables.
The Unspeakables.
Yes.
With mysteries. But also, even from one of the other books, I forget what it was. It was something that Lockhart claimed to have. Yeah. Like, we thought it was like a SWAT team or something. But there's a lot more to these wizards. And then these guys show up. They almost attack 3 innocent children. And then they're just letting individuals go off into the woods and investigate things in the dark where they can't see them and then come back. I'm like, light this whole place up. Have like spread out, get behind every tree and cast some big old spells to like lock this crime scene down. But instead they're just sitting around talking like, what's going on? Or are there people in the woods? Did we stun anyone? I don't know. Like, nobody's got a job to do. They're all just like, we've never dealt with this before. I say, bring in the professionals.
Cast Lumos real quick. Like, what are we all doing? Just sitting here waiting. Drives me crazy. So lots of questions on who actually conjured the dark mark. There's tons more in these chapters too that we'll probably touch on as we go on, but anything else in these that's really stood out to you?
I love how Hermione sticks up for Winky too. And how she's like, she was just in the wrong place, the wrong time, like all this stuff. I'm sure that comes up in the future too, because Ron's like, I'm not sure if it's this chapter or the next, but Ron just is like, like that is the norm.
Yeah. Ron is definitely just a go with the flow kind of guy. And this is interesting in like human history too. Hermione is a good example of someone who just like stands up for what's right no matter what time period it is. Like she knows this is wrong, so she does it. Ron just is a go with the flow guy. Like, oh, this is the way things are. We have house elves. I'm just gonna keep doing it, and it's not really an issue for him.
Yeah.
All right, chapter 10, Mayhem at the Ministry. Not a very long chapter, so this isn't a very long chapter we're going to discuss, but what happens in this chapter?
Do you have something? Or?
No, I don't think I wrote anything down.
They head back to the burrow. Mr. Weasley and Percy, I don't remember, are working overtime at the Ministry because of what Rita Skeeter printed in the Daily Prophet. When the boys are packing, they discover... Oh, that was just a random thought. They discover dress robes. What are they for?
That was a fun part.
Yeah, that's funny.
So here's the first question. Do you think it's a little crazy that they actually slept at the campsite rather than just going home immediately?
Yes.
Did seem weird.
Yeah.
I would not want to hang out there afterwards.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I don't care how long it takes. We're going to get home and then we'll rest.
Yeah.
This is the same thing that happens at Hogwarts. I'm like, why don't they have like a freaking emergency evacuation plan?
Yep.
The whole Ministry of Magic is working on this and they don't have an emergency evacuation plan for something. Like, they don't think of worst case scenarios. They just think everything's going to go swimmingly and they just keep obliviating people. That's their whole jobs. I'm like, come up with some kind of emergency plan. When they get there, everyone needs to know the procedure. It's like you jump on, I don't know, like at least when you go to a sporting event, you can see exit signs, all sorts of other stuff. There's fire extinguishers in places. For this, it's like all hell breaks loose and it's every person for themselves.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's got to be like port keys, immediate port keys that you can set
like
up and be like,
emergency port
everyone
keys.
go home now. And you just zap everyone home.
Mm-hmm.
Emergency port keys. That'd be huge in the Harry Potter universe.
Yeah. I don't know how that would work, but go home. Like, I was like, what are you doing?
And the whole reason they don't apparate was just so they don't draw suspicions like from muggles. But in a case like this, I'd be like, make an exception, apparate, just get home, figure it out, do something, get creative.
Yeah.
Desperate times, you know?
Yeah.
There's a really funny line in this too. They go home, finally. And Mrs. Weasley starts to sob. I shouted at you before you left. It's all I've been thinking about. What if you know who had got you? And the last thing I ever said to you was that you didn't get enough OWLs. Oh, Fred. George. This is a weird question. Again, do you remember the last thing that you ever said to someone? Maybe it's a really hard question. That I was trying to think of this when I wrote this. I was like, I don't know if I actually have an answer to this because you don't really know of the last time you ever see someone. But like, it doesn't have to be someone that died even. It could just be someone that like you never saw again or never really communicated with or something like that.
Nope, I don't think so.
Yeah, this is not cataloged in my brain.
Yeah, I know. I don't think this is a thing that you would catalog in your brain at all, for sure.
You would only think of it later, and you'd probably only remember if it was something really good or really bad.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm thinking of New Girl, where Nick is trying to come up with something to say to his girlfriend at the time, calls it the goosebump walk away, because he just wants to like say something that makes her like remember and like some big thing. But as soon as you put thought into it, it's impossible to say something meaningful or helpful. So
yeah,
true.
He just says sayonara, Sammy, and her name's not even Sammy. And I feel like that would be me, just saying something really dumb. As soon as I overthink, it gets bad.
Yeah, I don't. And I when my grandpa passed away, we brought him to the hospital. We kind of knew that he was going to pass away. It was like his time. And I remember driving him to the hospital. And then I do remember right before I left, I remember looking at him and like saying, hey, I love you. And he was kind of loopy and out of it, but he said, I love you too. And that was a memorable thing that I remember.
Sweet.
It's the only thing that I really remember from that. But yeah. Morbid question. There's other really good lines in this too. Harry's an idiot. They're like, let's go play Quidditch. That. Let's go work this off and play Quidditch. And Hermione goes, Ron, in an I don't think you're being very sensitive sort of voice. Harry doesn't want to play Quidditch right now. He's worried and he's tired. We all need to go to bed. Yeah, I want to play Quidditch, said Harry suddenly. Hang on, I'll get my firebolt. Hermione left the room muttering something that sounded very much like boys.
I kind of love that though.
Jen.
So good.
That would be us.
That is such a good
Because
description.
it just feels like finally, like Hermione's not right. Like Ron knows Harry to some degree.
Yeah.
Even like we don't know all the motivations and blah blah blah, but it just felt so good. I was like, he doesn't want to talk about emotions and feelings and blah blah blah. He's just like, let's just play Quidditch, you know. Our
Yeah.
troubles will melt away on the broom.
Honestly, I've talked about this before, but there's that part of the books that I love where it's Quidditch where your things melt away if you're
Yep.
Right.
There's debate in the Harry Potter community of whether Harry is a jock or a nerd. And I think 100% he's a jock. I don't think he has that many nerd tendencies, to be honest. I think he maybe is on the trajectory of being a nerd because I was a jock and I'm on a nerd trajectory now with Harry Potter. So maybe. But he's 100% a jock right now because he goes and plays sports and he forgets everything. Everything that he said up until this point, it's like he goes to play Quidditch and everything just falls out of his brain. He's able to like think when he's on the Quidditch or not think when he's on the Quidditch pitch. He's looking for his bowl right there.
Sorry, I thought he was like shoving my shoes on.
Wes, just relax. Wes, another few minutes, like 10, 15 minutes, and we're done.
I kind of think Rita Skeeter's right.
Oh, I was going to ask that. What do you think about Rita Skeeter? That was my next question.
I mean,
Yeah.
it feels like she is rightfully calling them out. She said
good
ministry
journalist?
blunders, culprits not apprehended, lack security, dark wizards running unchecked, national disgrace. Yep. All very
man.
fair points. So I'm not saying I fully agree with her because right afterwards she's talking about stamping out vampires. I hope she means like curing them, not stamping them out, because that makes me not like her at all. But when I read that, I was kind of like, yeah, the Ministry of Magic needs accountability. And up until this point, nobody's standing up to them. So if the journalists are, great. Rita's got to turn up the heat because not up to snuff. They messed up big time.
Yeah.
This is on them.
Yeah.
This also helped me like solidify my theory, which might not be right at all. But
Ooh, what you got?
the Ministry of Magic. No, I feel
Yeah.
like she's like onto them. Like like I think there is like a mole in there or someone that's giving Voldemort or like a double agent type thing, and she's onto it because I feel like journalists usually do have truth. It's just finding the wording and the stories to make it like believable. So
And speaking of truth, is there any truth to the rumor that some bodies were pulled out of the forest
Yeah.
a little after?
Is she just dressing that up with making it a better story,
Because
or
I
is there
think
actually
there's
truth
truth
to it?
to that. Big time. Several bodies an hour later
after the Weasley,
when they were
Mr. Weasley
asleep in
left.
their tents. Lame. Well, according to the rumor, it would be 1 hour later. So then I'm just thinking, who was still at the crime scene? Who went back? What bodies?
Crouch getting
Where could a rumor like
Winky.
that come from?
pulling Winky out.
And are these dead bodies or just limp from some spell? Hard to say. But either way, a rumor like that is interesting.
I was gonna say if it is dead bodies, then the dark mark.
That
That
would be
was
the
legit.
mark.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe we just don't know something yet.
That's what it feels like.
And maybe like Rita Skeeter is a good investigative journalist and she's letting us know the actual truth.
Because even when, what's the brother with the long hair? Weasley brother. He
Bill?
was so, yeah, because he was annoyed
cool
that the way that she explained him. But like, I'm
Yeah.
like, but
Oh,
she
yeah.
wasn't wrong.
It's accurate.
Yeah, exactly. What was that again, though? I forget what it was a reference to. Like,
Because she mentioned it was in a completely different article, or he mentioned it was in a completely different article that she wrote about like Gringotts or code breaking or something like that. And he was like, yeah, she described me as having like long hair. And that's when Molly was like, well, it really does need a cut.
that
And
was
so she's right.
great.
Yes, she's describing him well.
Yeah, I don't know. Journalists seem to know the insider scoop. They twist things, so we'll
Yeah.
see sometimes. But I think she's onto something.
Hmm.
She better be careful.
Oh, yeah, nice.
This ends with a funny little line too, where after they get the dress robes, Ron goes, "I'm never wearing them." Ron said stubbornly. "Never? Fine," snapped Mrs. Weasley. "Go naked." And Harry, make sure you get a picture of him.
Yeah.
Goodness knows I could do with a laugh.
I died laughing.
That was
She's so
good.
great. I love her so
her.
much.
Well,
Okay.
he has lace on it. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it.
He's got to try to like cut that off or something like that. So this is a rapid fire question, or maybe not a rapid fire question, but what do you think is each main character's main desire? What do they want? If they look in the mirror of Erised, we know 2 characters already, but like even Ron's right now, what do you think his main desire is? Has it changed from the first book? Do you think Harry's has changed maybe from the first book? What is Hermione's? What are those 3? Let's just do those 3.
I feel like they're all thinking a little bigger now. Maybe. And I feel like now, because Harry saw all of his family, I feel like his desire might be more towards a home life with Sirius, like something more specific. I'm not saying he'd see himself, lying on a beach with Sirius somewhere, but like that idea, somewhere like peaceful, away from all the drama. I feel like that might be what he wants. Maybe he likes the drama.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to
Usually runs door to
defeat Voldemort and like
Yeah,
that's what he
it
wants,
would
but not
be
for
like-
glory, but like actual peace in the world.
Yeah.
But Ron, I don't know if it would have changed that much. Maybe.
I think he just wants comfort, like predictability. He's
Comfort, predictability.
easily fearful, so I think he just wants to know what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Very chill.
He just wants like comfort, wants to know what's going on.
Wants to be clued in.
Yeah, I think so. I think included. I think there's another one that I see with Ron too blossoming where you see like his disdain for being poor here. And I don't know what that would become, like what a larger theme of that would become. But I think one of his desires is to, what is in the Mirror of Erised, make a name for himself. And I think in this book, it's taking the form of not being poor, making some kind of money to make a name for himself. Because he's looking at all these rich Quidditch players and like he's probably salivating over that idea, having some kind of money. And it's like, then he gets these crap dress robes and Harry gets these nice ones, and Harry just be a good friend and buy your friend dress robes and just send them anonymously, like you got your anonymous broom. I'm like, dude, it's not that difficult. Just say like, Ron, you have a secret uncle somewhere in the middle of Norwegia, no, whatever, Norwegia, and send him dress robes. Be a good friend, Ugh.
It's funny because it's like he thinks that. How am I trying to word this? Like he's striving for what he thinks is a good, like a good lifestyle.
Yeah.
Granted, he has a great lifestyle because it's such great parents and a great family, but he wants to have the things to show for, like the materialistic version of that.
He doesn't know what he has.
Yeah.
And then I feel like Harry's the opposite. He has all that and he wants what
Yeah.
Ron.
That's a great point. They both want what each other have.
Yeah. Grass always
Family.
seems greener.
Wow.
But
What about Hermione?
I
What do you
feel
think?
like I was thinking about her and how she views everything, especially with her reaction to the house elves and everything. I feel like something with justice for her.
Yeah.
Huh.
Nice. I like
You
that.
know, like
That's probably what she goes into in her career, I'm thinking, after reading these chapters.
Yeah.
She'd be a good judge.
A lawyer for the
Whoa.
elves and the creatures.
She'd be a
Yeah.
phenomenal lawyer.
yeah, because her knowledge and
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
She can argue anything.
Yeah. And then she even saw the Buckbeak case and she saw how awry that went and how corrupt
Yep.
it was. So she's like, has this thirst for justice. She's like, you know what? I'm going to go fix this system.
Mhm.
Ooh,
She would be the person to do it.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Anything else in these chapters?
Harry should buy Ron some new things because we saw a commercial for Glad Rags Wizard Rare. wizard wear. London, Paris, Hogsmeade.
Yeah.
Little
right.
trip to
It's right there.
Hogsmeade.
Yeah.
Get him some new robes.
I know. Come on, Harry.
And this is where it came up that Mrs. Weasley was going into the vault. It just feels weird. It feels
Yeah.
like flaunting it or like something. And then
Yeah.
she literally hands him a bag of money. I'm like, that's just so awkward.
Yeah.
How did she get in?
Do it for him though. I think.
Yeah, she could just, he gave her permission, I guess.
I don't
Like,
understand that.
I thought they had like, didn't Hagrid have to go through this whole process to get Harry to get money out of him?
Yeah. So he had his key. So I guess if Harry gave him the key, maybe it would work. But still, there's some vaults that are more protected than others, I guess. Like that one, you had to do with like the little finger, and any other than a goblin's, you would get sucked into the vault and it wouldn't work or something like that.
He
But-
probably never wants to go back. He got sick, right?
Yeah, it's true. No, Hagrid got sick. Did Harry get sick?
No, Harry got sick.
Harry got sick.
I thought. I
Might
could
have.
be wrong.
There's also a line in here where Percy says, a high-ranking ministry official like Mr. Crouch deserves unswerving obedience from his servants. Weird
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
And then I was like, does anyone deserve unswerving obedience?
Huh. Does anybody in this book so far deserve unswerving? Does Harry deserve it?
Even Dumbledore. I'm thinking, in a sense, no, nobody deserves that. But it's hard to function in an organization or a school or whatever if you question everything. That's
Yeah.
why the military, they're like, no questions. They try and like break people. I get it. I get why that's valuable in, I'll even say, 99% of cases. But never questioning, no. But I also get like Dumbledore, for example. He's given a lot of instructions. And if they were like asking questions or being weird about everything, it would make it a lot harder. He's like, time turner, do this. Go. Figure it out as you go. Just kind of like, just do it. And then they do, and it's great. It works out. So I'm starting to feel that way about Dumbledore. But the fact that Percy has that mentality, I'm like, oh man, he is misguided and arrogant.
Yeah, Percy annoyed me.
Yep.
That was one of the things I was gonna say.
Yeah, same.
Why
I was
did
trying
you
to
take
feel
the
for him. I was
stick out
trying to
of
be
his
like
butt?
a little like, oh, he's
Yeah,
all right.
you're like-
Nope. By this, I was like, no, it went too
Yeah.
far. He's just too arrogant,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh,
He
something
was, like,
about it
going
was too
against
much.
His own father.
Even
Yeah.
I was like, hello, your own father. Like,
Yep.
get the stick out of your butt and get your, you know, like,
Yep.
There
get your
is that
priorities
moment
back
where
in
he's
order.
like, "Oh, father shouldn't have made a comment at that. You should have talked to the head of his department or whatever." I'm
Right.
doesn't Mrs. Weasley yell at
Percy.
him then? I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
Oh
That
yeah.
made me so happy.
Yeah. There's a point you don't want. Yeah, like you don't even want. So even what we're saying, you don't want blind obedience to even just your parents either. You need to question them. But Percy's almost doing it too much, where he's like, he thinks he's better. His arrogance is leading him to think he's better than his parents rather than equals.
Yep.
Which with all the other Percys, like Bill and Charlie, to me, they're equals with their parents now. They don't have no appearance of like ambition for being better than their parents. They're just like,
Right.
oh no, we're like equals now.
Mhm.
Yep.
But Percy is looking down on his mom and dad.
That's a
Just
great way to
sad.
say it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really sad.
Very sad.
All right. Favorite moment in these chapters?
I keep forgetting.
Very quickly. We're almost there. We've almost made it, guys.
No, I keep forgetting about this because I have no idea.
Huh.
This is where I just sit here staring at the book trying to remember.
I feel like it was in Tent City, but again, it wasn't like a specific moment, but there was just so much to be learned. And I think I like things like that, even from the first book, Diagon Alley. It's just a menagerie of wizard chaos that is really fun to observe. I don't know if there was a particular moment. I think it said they were sitting around a fire. I pictured them around a fire. With Crouch and Bagman, and they're all hanging out there, this cool tent. Like, that just set, like, a cool tone for me. I feel like that was a peak. No crazy reason. Just felt fun to read. I was really enjoying it.
Yeah. I think I'll probably say the same, actually. I was just going to say right before you did it. I love the idea of going into a tent that's, like, really small from the outside, and you go in and it's this big thing. Just, like, the coziness of that. Just, like, just so nice. I really love that idea. Tent City was really fun. It'd be fun to experience that. I would love to be there.
Wait, was it
Yeah.
literally called Tent City?
No.
Oh, maybe I totally just made that up because
Yeah.
I think that is a Burning
Oh,
Man
because you
thing.
said it before, and I laughed, and I was like, "Wait, was this for
No, I
real?"
think that's, yeah.
calling it that.
It definitely wasn't called that in the book.
Okay,
Yeah. I've just been saying that because that's how I pictured it this whole
Yeah.
time.
I thought so. That's why I laughed before. And then I was like, "Oh, maybe I,
Yeah.
What are your guys' favorite moments?
It's not a favorite moment. I just like learning more about like the Dark Mark. So like it gives you a little more insight on like what the life was like before Harry Potter, I guess, was born too.
Chapter 9 was so great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like terrible, but it was just so much information in there.
Yeah.
Like this whole universe is just still expanding so much.
Yeah.
I think I
some of
just
those moments.
like the guessing. Like we don't know who it is. Like
Yeah.
I just enjoy that part of playing detective and trying to piece these little details she gives us, and like, does that matter? Does this matter? Like who? Little, yeah.
I feel like I always have such random spots that I like. I love the Weasleys.
Yeah.
In chapter 10, it was where it says rain lashed against the living room window, and they were all just kind of doing different things in the house. I don't know. I just loved that moment of like stillness, even though there was mayhem from Mr. Weasley and everything, but it was just, they were all kind of in the house together, just doing their like reading, and you know, Fred and George are doing whatever they're doing in the corner. I loved that moment.
That was a great moment. I was just talking about that with someone. There's like a weird comfort you have with people where you can all just be in the same room, like reading together or doing whatever you want, and everyone's quiet, and every once in a while someone says something, but it's just so nice. And then last one, favorite character in these 5 chapters, or who wins the house cup?
Oh man,
I like Hermione.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Stands up for.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna agree with you.
This is a good stretch for her. Harry's not so much. Loses his wand, wants to play Quidditch, which I guess is excusable, but
even her comments, like boys, like she said it a bunch of
Yeah.
times, like when the Velas were there.
yeah,
when
that's
the-
right. She's like, I feel like she's one of the only characters in this who really has her head screwed on right.
yeah. Even the simple thing where we're like wondering if it was Winky who said the the markup, and she's like, we literally heard the voice and it was not that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like even me, I'm reading this, I have no idea. I'm like, oh yeah, good point.
Hermione's right.
And everyone was like convinced. So she's making waves. She's doing big things.
Yeah.
I'll give it to Hermione as well.
Well, that's a
Hermione.
first.
Yeah, Hermione.
We're all unanimous.
Unanimous on Hermione.
Yep.
I don't think there's maybe Victor Crumb. No, I'm just kidding. Hermione clearly Hermione. Anyway, thank you for joining us on our journey of Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. See you next time. We did it, guys.
We did it. Yeah, this is good. I feel like
wait 20 seconds and then I'll turn it off. Give me a sec.
I'm gonna be thinking about these chapters forever. So many more things to discuss.
Ready? Hold on.
Oh, my laugh.
No, it's a great laugh.
It's a phenomenal laugh. I was just get yelled at for laughing too loud. I was younger.
One of my friends